Sound.
Hello everyone, welcome to Ask a Scientist Gaming, where we combine mediocre gameplay with top-level science. Nothing personal, David. But
Speak for yourself. I'm going to provide top-level gameplay and mediocre science.
you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I'm Ken Hansen. I'm your host. I'm a professor of chemistry at FSU. I work on molecular photophysics, which is a fancy way to say I like to study how light interacts with matter and molecules and then use that for things like solar cells. But more importantly, joining me today is Professor David Colins of the physics department, and I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is David Colins. I'm an astrophysicist. I make computer simulations of magnetic fields doing stuff in the most general of sense. So I work on a couple of different topics. I'm interested in the birth of stars and the death of stars, and I like what the stuff in outer space is doing. So we like making computer simulations of those things. So I've been at FSU for 7 years?
It's over 7 years now, yeah. Yep. David and I started at the same time, actually.
Yeah.
What do you teach?
Right now I'm teaching Intro Physics 2053. And I forgot to announce this to class because I only talk for about 20 minutes. So
Makes sense. And what are you drinking?
I am drinking a Founders All Day IPA.
All right. And what are you
hold this
playing? Yeah. Founders, sponsor our stream.
Right.
It's green screened, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Anyway, what are you playing?
Today we're going to be playing Battletoads.
And
which
why?
Because this is one of my favorite games when I was a little kid. I remember playing this a lot with my brother, who I think might be listening. Hi, Patrick. And it's a fun game, and I never beat it. I think Patrick did. But it's a pretty entertaining game, and I think a lot of the animation are hilarious and entertaining.
So for those of you not familiar, this is the 1991 version of Battletoads, the original NES release. Yeah, it goes way back. There's a 2020 version that we haven't played because we're old and we don't play new games. We just play old games.
Right.
So
I'm really excited about the re-release of new games, or of old games, like the new Zelda.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Want to explain the physics of the large-fisted punch?
Yeah, when they're ready to fly across the screen, you get body parts get bigger. One of my favorite things to do is get kicked. Is turn into a ram. If you pick up this stick, you can whack the guys with it, but then you can't fly around on the flying thing because I kept hitting him out of the air earlier.
Yeah, makes sense.
But
all right, are you sufficiently warmed up? You ready for questions?
I think so, yeah.
All right, Chad, do you have any questions for astrophysicist David Collins?
Yeah.
If not, I'll start asking them.
Yeah, cool. I did some homework at your suggestion.
What's your favorite star?
What's my favorite star? Probably the sun.
Why is that?
Well, because it
provides life.
It makes beer, indirectly. Oh yeah, I forgot you could pick the guys up. So I'm biased there. Pardon me.
All right.
Let's see. I think Betelgeuse is pretty exciting.
Aside from the sun, it's Betelgeuse. Why is that?
Because it's going to blow up. I really hope it blows up soon. I think.
What does soon mean? So we're talking to an astrophysicist. I need to know what soon means.
Well, I hope it blows up in our lifetime because then we get to watch it, and then that would be extremely exciting. It's probably going to be a couple thousand years. Which is still soon.
But you're not going to see it.
But I'm not going to see it because my grant runs out before then.
Oh, I forgot about this.
There's a bad guy.
The first-person shooter of beat-em-up games.
Next
million years Kappa.
Okay.
So the tentative plan for this is David is going to give it a shot doing just normal gameplay. And then if he dies and doesn't beat the game, we'll put some Game Genie codes in and then actually beat the game.
Which is what I did when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I don't know if I ever beat it properly.
Very few people did. But everyone knew this game and loved it.
That's right.
All right, any more questions? Because I have a list if we don't have any. What's your favorite star? Have you been asked that before?
Yeah, I think any of the stars that are harboring life.
Which would be?
Hard to say. Certainly the sun.
Yeah. Ooh, Ninja Physics asks, what's your favorite space physics text?
My favorite space physics text.
Before K&R.
What
book do you use first?
I think my favorite text is Chowdhury's Plasma Physics for Astrophysics. It's the textbook I have read and scrawled in and re-derived the things in the most. So I teach a 1 semester hydrodynamics course out of it, kind of every other year.
Is that the right answer, Ninja Physics? Is there a better one?
So if physics textbook is what you were looking for, that one's probably my favorite. But that's very specific. It's a hydrodynamics text more than a space physics text. So for space physics, I think the Big Orange book is great. Carolyn Osley.
Oh, here's another one. Could phosphine on Venus be explained by volcanic activity?
I think there isn't enough volcanic activity, is my understanding. The volcanic activity is low by a factor of something on the order of 10,000 to account for the phosphine levels that are seen. So that being said, I'm not an expert on that topic. So there are certainly people more qualified than me. But in the room, I don't know. You know the chemistry, so so it's really a chemistry question.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an oxidizing environment, right? And so phosphine should be some kind of phosphine oxide, right? It should be oxidized, and the fact that it's not means there's some kind of reductive event, which could be related to life. It could be something like an electrochemical cell could make phosphine from a phosphine oxide. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's
and I think so. There are certainly other astrophysical sources of phosphine. I think there's phosphine in brown dwarfs, and there's phosphine in the giant planets. I don't know, so I didn't find out. I was curious about this, so I did some reading. I figured phosphine would come up, so I read a couple papers, but I didn't. Oh no, I died. I got to talking and I died.
You want the Game Genie code?
No, I'll keep going.
All right,
I'll see if I can. I'll see how far I get this next time. Oh yeah, man! You start all the way back at the beginning. It's like
briefly, you don't have to answer this question. This one might be a comment from your student. If I had 3 bowls of breakfast but only 2 were cereal, how much weed would I have smoked before your class? You don't have to answer that question. Let's go with this one.
Well, my goal was to keep it PG.
Weed is PG. It's legal now.
It's true. It's true.
Mostly legal.
Let's see.
So here's another question for you. Do you agree with string theory, or do you have another favorite theory?
Well, I don't agree or disagree with it. It's tricky to say anything tangible about it in the physics sector. It's done a lot of really interesting mathematic things, a lot of combinatorics things, I think. But it hasn't solved the problem it set out to solve in the way that it's intended to. But I think it's still very interesting. It was
What just hit you?
The guy off screen just hit me.
Explain that one.
I know, man. It's witchcraft. Oh, that guy wiggles. There you go.
So is there a testable hypothesis with string theory right now that's just waiting for a fast enough particle accelerator or something?
I think so. My understanding is that the most viable things are these tiny little gravity experiments. So if there are multiple dimensions, they're only going to exist on really small length scales. So if you're really small, then you can see it, and you can see gravity gets weird, gets weaker in different ways. Oh man, I kicked that guy off the screen. I wanted to go ride him around. Come here. I big fisted him. Let's see, I want to ride you. Come on, yeah, sweet.
Classic.
No. I rode him right off the cliff. Oh, but I forgot you come back with him, which is pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
This is maybe my favorite part of the game. I don't know.
All right, so are they close to testing those microgravitations?
People are working on it, and they're at the micron level, and it continues to be three-dimensional. Which is disappointing, and you always want there to be something weird and exciting in your experiment. But it's great that so far modern understanding of physics has been borne out by experiment pretty well in the last 10-15 years.
All right, so it's not broken yet.
I know, which is kind of cool. So and I think high energy physics is one place that has been the most exciting, that everything works, but disappointing that nothing weird happened.
Yeah.
Because in astronomy, there's certainly weird problems. So we have this problem with dark matter, and there's something wrong. Like, regardless of whether you believe it's a particle or whether you believe it's, you can get one-ups off those guys if you hit them enough times. And I used to be able to do it.
Do you remember the anvil that you can create?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, distracting.
What was I talking about?
Focused on the game. No, it's dark matter in the
unknowns.
So
we know that there's problems. Either general relativity is wrong, or I almost did it. Either general relativity is wrong, or quantum mechanics is wrong. So they don't mix.
Yeah.
And so far, the universe has offered up very few details. And we know that there's
Actually, here's a fun follow-up on this from
cool.
Alexander. What's something in physics that you remember being unsolved when you were young that got solved later in your career?
I
mean, the habitable planets was recent.
Yeah. How many habitable planets have there, or how many planets at all? The first planet, so I got interested in physics in like 1998 or so. The first exoplanet was found in 95, I want to say.
Old Turtle Druid, thank you for following.
Oh.
Sorry to interrupt.
How psyched was I when I saw SOFIA data showed the general magnetic field shape of the Milky Way center. I think that's pretty exciting. I think that there's been just a boom of observations of magnetic fields in the last 5 or 6 years, which is really exciting. So I did my thesis, and I do a lot of work with magnetic fields in a lot of environments, but mostly in the interstellar medium. But I think that the region around the black hole is really fascinating, so it's really pretty exciting.
It's fun. This one is probably one of my students from Gen Chem. Thoughts on the electoral system?
Well,
I went on a bit of a rant about the Electoral College.
Oh, and how great it is?
Oh yeah, and how it works perfectly and it fully represents the population of people.
Right. It's a fantastic system, and I think that we should continue it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I think that we should repair systems that are outdated and broken.
I mean, don't you think Wyoming voters should have 5 times as much electoral power as you do?
I do think that. but it gives people in different states funny electoral power, because I do live in Florida.
Yeah.
So and since Florida is a swinger state, than California is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with swinger state, thanks.
I wasn't going to correct you. We got old people.
That's right. So, in that way, your vote does matter more. So, like, a vote in Ohio matters a lot more than a vote in Kentucky does, because it's because one's a swing state and one's a not.
Yeah.
So,
that makes sense.
I think that it really unfairly balances where the elected officials are spending their time campaigning.
Yeah, no, and it's annoying, the advertisements on TV. And
Right. But when I lived in California, I never saw, I didn't know anything about Swift boats, because I never saw those ads, because I lived in California.
Yeah.
Also, I don't pay attention to political ads a lot.
All right, Fermi. Hopefully that answers your question.
Right.
Electoral system is broken.
That's
the
right.
Electoral College, at least, is broken.
It's there to solve a problem that doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
What's the differential between a duck? It has one leg alike.
Is that a physics joke?
No, it's a stupid joke.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thoughts
That's
on...
right. I bet $1 that Old Turtle Druid is going to agree with me.
All right.
Because that's not my joke.
Is that right, Old Turtle Druid?
Thoughts on faster than light travel? Well,
are you gonna play? Or you
oh gosh, man, I got the attention
they're
span.
They're here for the mediocre gameplay.
That's right. I got distracted. I got the attention span of a toddler.
But anyway, what are your thoughts on faster than light travel?
Okay, so this is one of those cool GR things. You can write down metrics that will move faster than the local speed of light. So, the rule is that you can't go faster than a photon. Like, you can't pass a photon. That doesn't mean that you can't hook up wad of space and make it go faster than light. So there are galaxies that we can see that are moving away from us faster than the speed of light. So, because space is expanding, right? So we can see things that are moving away from us very fast. So general relativity will let you do it if you jimmy it right. I just don't. But the way to jimmy it requires. Here's the hard part. The way to make space go faster than the local light, as I understand it, requires getting a Jupiter mass assembled in a shell of a centimeter thick of negative mass. So I have a real hard time with all of that.
Like logistically, how to make that happen.
Logistically, like that's very difficult. And the negative mass, that I really have a hard time with. I'm fine with negative energy in all kinds of places, but negative mass is tricky.
Off the cliff. Sorry.
Yeah.
Old Turtle Druid followed up. It's your grandfather's joke.
Yeah, I might know who Old Turtle Druid is.
we got an insider here. All right. As you play Battletoads, how do you feel about the physics engine in it?
It's pretty
Chronarchy
entertaining.
wants to know. That's something that I touch on when I talk about, like, people talk shit about video games, but it is a quintessential scientific method, right? Because you're dropped into the game. You don't know the rules that govern that universe unless you've read the manual, which none of you have. And you have to figure out the rules. And you're doing it from testable hypothesis. You run the experiment, you fail, you figure out what the physics are.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Yeah. But as far as this physics, I don't know. Speeder cars, how do those work?
Right.
The wheel, the unicycle wheel that you hold on to and it drives.
Oh God.
Do you want Game Genie codes?
Yeah, totally.
Let's Infinite Lives this.
Yeah, totally.
All right. In the
Oh,
meantime,
man, I love you guys.
let's how about you tell the chat about what path took you to where you are today?
Oh, that's kind of complicated.
So I'm going to pause the gameplay briefly so I can set up the
Okay.
JWST codes, and then you can tell them about what path led you to where you are.
Beer led me to where I am.
Really, that got you through grad school?
No, so I started off wanting to be a tuba player. Then I went to the Eastman School of Music, which is a conservatory in Rochester, New York. So I went there for 2 years, and I realized that being a professional musician wasn't going to be for me. Is the long and the short of it. So I went to study engineering.
Physics was your fallback career.
Well, I went to go study engineering.
All right, third fallback.
Because I didn't know what else to do, and the University of Cincinnati has a nice engineering program, so I figured I could get a job if I went and did that. And then I took. You only needed one more class after you fulfilled the engineering major to get a minor in physics. So most people take modern physics. I thought I'd take quantum mechanics because why not? And I sat on the first day, and I didn't understand a single thing he said. So I figured, well, I need to go learn what Maxwell's equations are, because he talked about scattering in Maxwell's equations. I didn't know what the hell that was. So I need to go learn about that. And so I went and took modern physics like I was supposed to. And then I changed my major.
Nice.
And then I picked up a math major because that's pretty fun.
Very nice. Alexander, thank you for the follow.
Oh,
We sufficiently answered his question.
Which question was his?
It was, what was something in physics you remember being unsolved?
Ah,
I don't know if that's why it followed, but we appreciate the follow anyway.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Ms. Bearer, howdy, y'all. Thoughts on absolute zero, concepts below absolute zero, and accompanying negative pressure?
Well, lasers are negative temperature. So temperature is a really funny idea. And if you
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Alexander replied, I'm here for the Battletoads, flat earth for life.
Fantastic.
Whatever, we'll take the follow. Sorry. Below absolute zero, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here for the first level of Battletoads played over and over and over, and over again.
That's how far we're making it. No,
That's
this
right.
should be infinite lives. Let me know if you die and you still have lives.
That's fantastic.
Should work. But anyway, that's not, well,
Yeah,
not
so
an equilibrium below zero. That's a momentary.
that's true. It is a non-equilibrium system, which is
Yeah.
why it works.
Yeah, exactly. So equilibrium below zero.
So there are, so we have this problem that the universe is expanding faster than it ought to, and it keeps getting faster, and we don't understand why. And when you think about it like an energy density, it is a large negative energy density. So I think there is certainly something with negative pressure. Semi-certain. In the universe, we haven't figured out how to really even ask questions about it. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, I think.
So the answer is maybe.
Yeah.
The short answer is maybe.
That's right. I hope to live to an era where we start to learn something concrete about the dark energy. I think we understand dark matter pretty well. Like, we understand where it is and what it does and how it behaves and what it isn't.
So what's the pending experiment that somebody needs to put up $20 billion for us to figure out more about dark matter?
Oh man, I don't know how to do it with a single experiment. So is the problem, because we don't know if it's a tera electron volt. I mean, it could be it could be a quarter pounder, or it could be a mill electron volt.
Ooh, Alexander's lowballing the bid. $5 billion, he'll do it.
There are some theories. There are some theories that have the mass size, the mass scale of the dark matter particles so low that their mean wavelength is the size of the galaxy, which I have not thought enough about. It is I think, an intriguing idea. Where were we?
Old Turtle Druid might have some insights on the negative pressure of the universe. That means something outside the universe sucks. There are plenty of things that inside the universe that also suck, mostly located on Earth.
That's accurate. That's not wrong.
Yeah. We can do the math on that. All right. Any more questions? If not, I got a question for you.
Yeah, cool.
What is the most memorable / impactful moment of your career? Scientific career. Like, was it an aha moment? Was it a I've made it moment?
My personal career?
Yes.
Probably probably getting this job, I think.
Yeah.
Was the most satisfying thing, because that was a clear indication that I could do this for a living, and I didn't have to find another job.
Yeah, that is
really didn't.
That is surreal. For those of you that don't know, like David and I, we went to high school, then we went to undergrad, then we went to grad school, then we did a postdoc, and we were 30 before we had a real job of any kind, and it ended up being professor.
Right.
And so that was like the all of a sudden I'm an adult and people are going to take me seriously and call me Professor Hansen. It's a really weird experience.
I haven't really gotten used to that.
Yeah, no, it's very surreal because I mean we haven't changed. It's
right.
just
I still
the title
have no idea
changed.
what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no idea why they keep asking me to do stuff.
And paying you to do it.
I know.
It's amazing. We have an amazing job.
Every time I stop to think about it, it's pretty entertaining. There's too much to do is the problem. That's the one problem I have with it. There really aren't any parts of it that I overtly dislike.
Some of the paperwork, some of the, like when we submit grants, we have to do different forms for each agency and different formatting and different fonts and different references. And like the monotony of that and the business end of things kind of sucks, but
that's a drag.
It's the nature of the beast and what we have to do.
Yeah, that's really true. I think the one thing that I could do without is grant rejections.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like, you know, it's so much. I got to write so many damn grants to get one that works, you know?
Yeah.
And I get emotionally involved in a grant, you know? Like, I start talking about stuff that you know, I have to.
Yeah.
You know, I have to care about the thing that I'm trying to write about.
Yep. You genuinely care about it.
Right.
And then it gets shot down for a reason out of your control.
Oh, and sometimes there's such nonsense reasons.
Yeah. Here's a physics one, not a logistics one. How do we know the universe is expanding?
Oh, so that's a really good question. The thing is that at the end of the day, when we look outside of us and Andromeda, everything is moving away from us. And there have been a lot of campaigns to try to look for anomalies in this universal redshift law, like large-scale anomalies. So when we look at the
brain level.
I forgot about this level.
Anyway, large-scale anomalies.
And they've all come up short. So, so there are. So that's the.
So Miss Bear's comment: everything is more redshifted than we expect, isn't it?
No, I think everything is.
Well,
okay.
if it wasn't expanding.
So there's some subtle. There's some subtle details in there, but for the most part, everything is behaving as Einstein predicted. For the most part,
We'll pretend that didn't happen.
Right.
Keep going. Finite lives.
Right. So the current model that best explains most of the large-scale astrophysical measurements is called lambda CDM, and that stands for lambda, which is a cosmological constant, which is this giant negative pressure that's making everything expand faster and faster, which I kind of hate aesthetically, but it keeps being it keeps being the one model that works the best. So, and then CDM means cold dark matter, so that means the dark matter.
I just want to point out, you just first tried that speeder bike section. Well done, sir.
I might have played this a lot when I was a kid. Oh,
Either way,
God, I knew I was
props to David
time.
for hitting that, though. He hit the first section first try. But sorry.
No worries. I knew I was going to mess these jumps up because you really got to get that one late.
Yep, you got to hit it right.
I forgot how much of this game my muscles know.
How do you think emergent complexity arises despite laws of thermodynamics?
Oh man, that's my favorite question.
I love that question. Are you one of my students? Because if you are, I literally dedicate an entire class at the end of the semester to emergent complexity. It's my tag onto the thermodynamics chapter.
Oh man, I should come sit in on that.
It's a fun one because it's mostly just posing. It's across all disciplines, right? It's across economics, physics, biology, chemistry. It is everywhere, and we can't explain it.
It really is, and I really believe that there are straightforward.
For those of you that aren't familiar, emergent complexity is this idea that you take many small pieces and they work together to make something infinitely more complex than the individual components. And so examples are neurons in the brain. We know how neurons work. You put 100 million of them together and you have consciousness, and you have me here talking science on a stream, right? And we don't know how that works collectively. Same thing true with ants. How do ants build an ant colony without explicit instructions?
That's one of my very favorites.
That's
I love
emergent
watching
complexity.
Ants.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love watching ants. I think it's incredible. Like the fire ants that we have here are amazing little engineers.
Yeah.
They build really enormous structures, and there's no central planning division. It's just from some simple rule set that they all share.
Yeah, and so, I mean, in the context of thermodynamics, sorry, I care about this a lot. I teach general chemistry too, but so you have entropy, right? That's what's dictating what happens in the universe, right? Everything's trending towards entropy. That's the second law. But you can have localized pockets of low entropy at the cost of entropy everywhere else. And so my question is not why does emergent complexity arise, but does it have to under a given set of conditions? Like that's the proposed fourth law of thermodynamics. Or I don't know, you might know more about this than me, but like it's basically, can you come up with a set of rules that says when these rules are obeyed, complexity will spontaneously emerge? And then naturally as humans, we will try to control that and build an army and blow something up. But still, we will use new science to discover something great.
Yeah, it's really true. I think it'll totally throw off a lot of things that we already know, like the stock market will
will be broken
behave differently.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll stop behaving. I think that whatever rules, chaos and randomness are going to be an inherent part, because I think that they're only going to rise in systems that are going to tend to be chaotic.
Gestalt theory is a kind of related to emergent theory.
I don't know what Gestalt theory is.
I don't know what that is either. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll probably look it up.
I just jumped right over that ramp.
So could emergent complexity be a path to true AI?
I think so.
I think if you get AI, you have already accomplished emergent complexity.
I think that
I don't know if you'll control it, but it'll be...
I think that understanding those two things may come together.
Yeah. No, it's such a fun area. Like, mark my words, the next, Newton came along and just broke or revolutionized all of physics.
Yeah.
Einstein, quantum mechanics did the same. The next big breakthrough is going to be emergent complexity.
Yeah, the next really groundbreaking. And if you look in history, I heard a cool podcast that inspired some of this rambling. So many of the major human life improvements of the last couple centuries came with foundational changes to physics. So refrigeration didn't show up until we understood electricity. Personal computers didn't show up until we understood quantum mechanics. So there are a lot of, and thermodynamics, because of course we needed to understand thermodynamics before we could get air conditioning to work. This is kind of unscripted. So I think that whatever is coming when we do solve that, which I feel is got to be soon.
What's going to be most upsetting for most people is that all science has done from the start of time is knock humans off of their pedestal of importance.
Yeah, it's really true.
Like we have this sense of superiority that we're the center of the universe, and then we're not.
I know.
We have this sense that only we can create biomolecules, and that's not true, right? They dispel that. Every single step, everything we think we're better at, like animals think, animals feel, animals use tools.
I mean, animals build incredible things. Think how big one of those termite mounds is to an
exactly.
ant. That's Burj-Khalifa level engineering with literally Stone Age technology.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
just through some emergence,
that's the other things. Like, we like to think of ourselves as individuals, but most of us follow a statistical model, right?
Right.
When you walk in a shopping mall, you are following fluid dynamics, whether you like it or not.
Right.
Right. There's individual thoughts, but we are part of a mathematical puzzle.
Right. Right.
Anyway.
We just respond to stimulus it's.
Another one. If we can create AI, will there be much of a difference between being alive in a human sense and the life that technology experiences?
I think depends on what we learn when we get AI. I think it's impossible for me to really say much now because there's so many unknowns,
Well, I like to think about it the other way. I like to start from, what does my brain have that you can't mimic with a computer? And I don't know if there's anything. If you have a sufficiently complex network of transistors, could you not recreate my thoughts? Presumably, yes.
I suspect so. I suspect that there are. I suspect that to actually get it right, there's going to be, it's going to need to be. We're going to need to understand the details of the physics, and I think that making with sufficient computation, making an efficient brain may not be effective, may not be possible.
Oh, DP Specialist has a question.
Okay.
Hi all. What's the beer of choice tonight?
Founders all day. Speaking of, I'm out of beer.
The green screen. I'll go get another beer.
Oh, fantastic. You want me to get him?
No, I'll grab it. You got to beat this level.
Oh, cool. I'll actually focus and stop talking if
also,
you
it
take
seems like Enzo Run 19 has not failed me yet. Yeah, you're getting wrecked right now.
Oh, fantastic.
I'll leave you with this one from Alexander. I always wonder if AI ends up solving problems that we can't, and AI couldn't explain the answer to us.
I think that's already
solutions. Will we eventually get behind that? Well, largely give up on trying in favor of efficiency.
There's a lot there.
Just enjoy the beats of Battletoads while I go get beer.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So as I know it, or as I understand it, this was described to me by a friend and potentially drinking. So there was an experiment where they had some neural network try to respond to the human voice to turn a switch on or off, and the resultant code, or the resultant circuit that it created, was not understandable. There were parts that weren't connected to anything, but if you took them out, the circuit didn't work anymore. So the AI did build a working circuit, but it did it using things that we don't really understand. So there's some kind of field effect that it was harnessing. by having some extra capacitance or local inductance or something that it needed somewhere that it figured out that we don't understand. So AI has already done things that we don't understand. So I think that is intriguing. I see a lot of folks think about Schrodinger's cat experiment as creating. Okay, so Schrodinger's cat is, I think, Schrodinger's cat is great because it makes us. It really is a whole, to be honest, in, I think, physics, because I understand what a quantum mechanical system is and I understand what a macroscopic system is, and I think I don't really know where the change is.
So I have a
and I think that there are people who do know that better than I do, but I don't know, man. There is weird metaphysics there. Like there's something in that change of scales that we don't understand. Whether it means that there's a spirit or not, I don't, probably not if that's where you're going with metaphysics. But there's definitely weird things even with that simple thought experiment.
Hey, Ninja Physics, thanks for the follow-up question on Schrodinger's cat. So those of you not familiar with Schrodinger's cat, we had a discussion with Eugene Deprez last time, the quantum chemist. Basically, Schrodinger's cat is quantum mechanics tells us that events are probabilistic. Like there are certain scenarios where a thing will either happen or it won't, and there's a 50-50 shot it'll go either way. And so radioactive decay is an example of that. And so who was it? Who was discussing that? It was Bohr and...
all of those guys, I think.
Yeah, but it was a thought experiment. They basically said, all right, if you have a quantum system that can have a 50-50 event going one way or the other, and you have that trigger some kind of poison release, and you put that mechanism in a box with a cat, so the quantum event says there's a superposition of states, neither one has happened until you measure it. Well, theoretically, there's a cat inside the box too, which means there's a superposition of the cat being alive or dead. And so the thought experiment was basically, if quantum mechanics is true, it should translate to a macro level phenomena like a cat being alive or dead. And so my question for you is, quantum mechanics predicts a 50-50. Gravity is a non-zero influence in there. Where I'm standing in the room, does it affect whether that cat's alive or dead?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think gravity matters? If it's a true 50-50 event, gravity is a non-zero influence.
I think your electrodynamics would matter more.
But if electrodynamics says it's a true 50-50, the tiebreaker is something.
Well, yeah. So I think, are you saying there's a hidden variable there, or?
I don't know.
Yeah. So I think, I think that well, okay. So are we asking about nuclear decay or
nuclear decay, whatever it is? I mean, so quantum says it's basically so quantum only models really small systems for the most part, right?
Right.
And so
that's really
that's
thing.
where the disconnect is, right? Do big things matter for small systems? Is it enough of a force to change the outcome? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's intriguing. Like there are certain impacts, like direct impacts of quantum mechanics on daily life. I have these magnificent LED screens in front of us.
Yeah.
So we can interact very directly with the quantum mechanical. It's just I have a hard time understanding it. I hate these.
And you're getting close. Like you're hitting them once in a while.
Yeah. When will this stop being fun TV?
When it stops being interesting science. They know what they signed up for. Read the
All right.
description. Mediocre gameplay,
Fantastic.
expert science.
Fantastic.
Wouldn't that be testable with a single photon particle double slit experiment? The influence of gravity on it? Maybe.
I think that would be very, very interesting. That would be a very hard experiment to do. I think that is that's the kind of thing that the gravity people in like Washington are doing. So except they use like Mount Rainier for one of their test masses.
Explain to me what gravity people means in this context.
Oh, there's a group of physicists.
It's a cult.
Yeah,
Worships gravity.
There's a group of physicists in Washington. I think there are groups of physicists that study gravity and its impact at the very tiny scale on the quantum mechanical systems. So, there are some general relativity quantum mechanic overlaps that you can test with systems like that.
All right. So I'm going to intervene with a question. This is one
cool.
that I always like to ask because I'm genuinely curious about it. Much lighter than the one we've been discussing.
All right.
So what movies or TV shows gets your discipline right and which ones get it wrong?
Well, nobody gets it right. Like, if we mean like sci-fi in general or like space travel.
Like, what does an honest conveyance of real physics?
Well, I think Star Trek did a great job. I think they were honest. I think the ones that really...
But Interstellar. I'm surprised you didn't go with that one.
Well, I enjoyed Interstellar, so I've got a really strong, willing suspension of disbelief.
That's good.
So it wasn't until several years later that the floating clouds of frozen ice bothered me, because I enjoyed so much of the rest of the film, and it was a good people story.
Yeah.
There were some parts of that I really enjoy. So I show the black hole when I get to black holes in GR, in XGAL in the spring, because the black hole animation is great. There's a lot of really cool stuff to talk about.
Who gets it wrong?
Who gets it wrong? Well, kind of everybody.
Who gets it most wrong? Who's the most intellectually offensively wrong?
Oh, that one where they had to restart the core of the Earth with nuclear explosions.
Core. It's the core. Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah. I did not see that film.
Yep, The Core.
I have.
2003 classic. Everyone should go watch it.
Yeah. So that one was.
How do you feel about Ant-Man, Avengers, and Quantum Realm?
I think that's.
That was just lazy sci-fi.
Yeah. So I didn't actually watch Ant-Man. I have seen 0 of the Marvel movies. I recognize that maybe I saw Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that was the one that I've seen. So I haven't seen Ant-Man. But you got to go in with a lot of willing suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy the bit in Guardians of the Galaxy where maybe I shouldn't spoil anything. That was an old movie though, right? Everybody's seen it, right?
Probably. We'll say yes. Spoilers, heads up.
Anyway, I enjoyed the origin story of the Infinity Stones. It was a nice nod to some of the wackier what happened before the Big Bang theories. So
that's fun.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that.
In Star Wars, how do you hear Star Wars lasers in space? Through a VFX board.
Well, I have synesthesia. And apparently so do you.
Synesthesia is where you can hear visions. Is that right? Yeah.
Well, so things become color coded in your head. Like
yeah.
you get other like sensational responses to stimulus. So, for instance, Michael Torkey was a musician. He wrote a bunch of different symphonies that are all colored. They were all named after colors, and they were all based around chords that he saw those colors in, which I think is an interesting episode of synesthesia.
DP Specialist. They were missing the blue shift on that black hole. Is that from Interstellar? Mm-hmm. They screwed up the blue shift?
He paid attention in class.
That's one of yours?
That's right.
That's awesome.
think that's. Is it weird to say people's real names on
we don't.
Twitch?
Let's not do it because you might be wrong.
That's right.
But you did pay attention, so
That's right.
I give you extra credit. I don't know if he's going to. How do you feel about surviving a nuke in a fridge, Indiana Jones style?
I thought that whole film, I had a hard time with willing suspension of disbelief in that one.
Nuke the fridge.
Nuke the fridge is one of my favorites. Like, I think it's kind of dumb as a phrase, but I think that it's a really telling.
How do you feel that mantis shrimp can see the UV, but we need to build expensive machinery to do the same? Yeah, that's.
But we get there, so
Yeah.
like we get robbed on a lot of fronts. Biologically, we don't have claws, we don't have wings, can't swim all that good.
UV, can't see IR.
Die.
That's a good point.
Though there aren't really a lot of animals that have really truly overcome that, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Though I think some have come close. Trees and stuff.
I'm not going to put any pressure on you, but you have to beat this level.
Oh, I know, man.
You can't go home. How do you beat this level?
It's this jump right
mandatory. You're hitting it early or late to do a difference.
Yeah.
Where's the intersection between physics and neuroscience?
Well, there's in that nonlinear dynamics is where a big part of the overlap is. I mean, the physics of neuroscience is pretty straightforward. As I understand it, I mean, action potentials are there's certainly
except for the entirety of emergent complexity.
That's the thing.
That's
we understand how a neuron works. We understand how charge moves down a neuron pretty well. We understand how those things work.
We can make worm brains. We can take 10 neurons and put them together and function as a worm.
No way.
But we can't do consciousness yet. I think they mapped the entirety of a worm's brain. And so they understand how that functions. But
that's
bonkers. You get above n equals 10 neurons, all of a sudden crazy stuff happens.
Yeah, because the complexity goes like n factorial or whatever, or 7 factorials. I don't know.
Chronarchy, my critique of that is always to say nature doesn't draw those boundaries, and we shouldn't either, because it is like neuroscience and physics they're together. They're the same thing, right? They're a part of a continuum of science that needs to be solved for one unified theory. So I would say they are heavily overlapped and intersecting because they are the same thing.
Yeah.
That's just my diatribe.
Yeah, I think that's really true.
The Soul distribution code is programmed for n greater than 10, obviously. We solved it. Emergent complexity solved.
Right.
Oh, thoughts on Planet 9 black hole theory?
I want to believe.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so
explain that for everyone.
If you look at, okay, so now I'm trying to remember. This is one of those things that I would go look up before I really said a lot. So if you look in detail at the orbits of the planets and try to fit them. And I think you have to include the asteroids and try to fit them. It looks like there's another planet, but it's out at like 100 AU or 900 AU, and it's like 30 Jupiter masses, and was it Kuiper Belt objects that they were looking at? I can't remember.
I have no idea. I'm not familiar.
Sorry about that. These are the things that I should remember. So anyway, so it looks, if you look at the data right, at the orbits of the planets, it looks like there's another planet. And we can see it in the response of the other planets. So like, we don't see anything, and there have been telescopes that have looked in that part of space.
Oh, you got it.
I'm hitting him too early, I think.
Yep.
And there have been telescopes that have looked in that part of space and not seen anything. So Maybe it's a black hole. I think that that's intriguing. It holds as much water as anything else does. I mean, it holds as much water as there being a planet there does. And I don't know enough about the data to really speak one way or the other. But it came out at like the people who made that measurement really know what they're doing. So they're very knowledgeable people. So seems plausible. It's gonna be hard to find a thing though.
Ooh, here's a family question. Your nephew wants to know how the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy got there.
That's a really great question, buddy. So we don't know, but it's really there and it's really huge. I show movies of it in my ex-gal class because you can see the stars moving around it clear as day, man. It's really cool. So to answer that question, you really need to ask how the galaxy got to where it is today. And so what we think happened is that the universe started off this big, hot mess with nothing in it. And then it was expanding. So as it expanded, it cooled. And the fluctuations in the stuff started to collapse, and then little fluctuations got bigger and they merged with each other, and then little fluctuations merged with bigger fluctuations. So like little blobs got fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter, eating the stuff around them, and then merged with each other. And in those blobs, there's dark matter, and dark matter is what really dictates the dynamics of the universe. So those blobs of dark matter eat each other, and inside the blobs of dark matter, galaxies form, and galaxies form stars, and stars form big stars, and big stars, when they blow up, form black holes. When a black hole blows up, or when a really big star blows up, the inside gets so compressed that it collapses into a form of black hole, and that's so violent that the rest of the star gets blown off, and that'll make a 5 or 6 solar mass black hole, and then somehow those combine to make bigger and bigger and bigger black holes until we get to the 4 million solar masses that are at the center of our galaxy. So the galaxies form together, and the black holes are at the middle of most of the galaxies. So most galaxies that we know about have black holes in the center. And
are you pressing forward on the jump? Is that how it's going further?
Yeah.
So close. It's right after that, right?
Yeah, I think it is. I think I'm really close to the end of this stupid level. I knew this was going to happen. And I don't really, I'll do this all day.
That's fine, because we got more questions.
That's cool.
Why does our galaxy spin the direction it does? A chirality emergence question.
Yeah, that's a super interesting question. I don't know. Because why does it spin at all? So in this process of little blobs eating each other and merging into forming bigger blobs, each one of those blobs is spinning. So this one is spinning this way, and this one is spinning this way. And then when they all combine, all of their spinning, a lot of the time ends up being a big blobby stuff. There's a channel where things form disk galaxies out of all this random alignment of blobby structure, and I think that that's not well understood, but it is reproducible with simulations.
So if you average out all the galaxies as a whole, do the left-handed and right-handed average out?
They better.
I mean, on Earth, they don't, right? Chirality doesn't average out. It biased towards 1 in life, and
That's right.
That's what won.
Life is right-handed
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. DNA, proteins, they have a hand in this.
So and there are weird superstructures in galaxy clusters. So there is a plane. So our galaxy is a plane, and most of our satellite galaxies orbit a plane perpendicular to that galaxy. And we think that that's because of the larger scale structure that the Milky Way exists in this large filamentary structure that has tidal torques that torque the galaxies. But it's hard to see these tiny little galaxies around other galaxies except for us and Andromeda.
I don't know how to play video games. Should I like or be scared of black holes?
Like.
Should I be scared of black holes?
No, because the nearest one that we know of is pretty far away.
Well, there's a non-zero probability of a particle accelerator making a black hole, right?
Yeah, I think that there's a non-zero probability, but 10 to the minus 100 is zero enough.
So, yeah, you don't have to be scared. Why is NASA guarding the edge of the Earth, and why don't you want us to know it's flat?
I don't know, man. I'm not in on that stunt. They got me duped too. I think it's round. So.
What will you think what happens when Andromeda collides with our galaxy?
It's going to be messy. It's going to be neat. That's going to be super entertaining.
When is that going to happen?
I should know this.
I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to double check your math, but
that's cool.
Pick a number of zeros.
It's on the order of 10 gigayears.
10 gigayears. It's not worth losing sleep over yet.
That's right. And it's not going to affect the planet. So if this was going on right now, I think our planet would be fine because our planet is so small compared to the galaxies. The galaxies colliding are basically clouds of collisionless particles that never touch each other. The dark matter is a train wreck, and the gas shocks violently when two galaxies collide. So a lot of really interesting physics happens when two galaxies collide. So the gas shocks because you get this pancaking effect, and that's very violent. And in that violence is always a train of star formation. So a lot of new stars are born when galaxies collide. So it's going to be really cool.
250 million years.
Yeah, it's 700 megaparsecs. Since we're not traveling at sea, it's going to be longer than 700 million years. And I can't remember exactly how many. So it's a gig a year or more. But yeah, I think. Yeah.
So you've hit the 1 hour milestone on Battletoads
fantastic.
right now. So congratulations. For anyone just joining us, this is Professor David Colins, astrophysicist, playing Battletoads, trying to beat this level, which is a non-trivial level. I know it looks easy, but it is very touchy off these ramps. So
yeah, I'd forgotten how tight his timing is.
Yeah. It's timing, and I think you have to push forward on it, but I don't remember exactly.
I think that might be true. You also got to not get splatted. So that's the thing, though. You'll notice I never get splatted.
That's true.
I know how to miss things. Just my timing is off. So if it's 9 o'clock, some viewers probably ought to be getting ready to go to bed if they're still up.
Is that your viewers?
Yeah,
personal fan base?
That's accurate. Wait, really?
You should hit the ramp while not hitting buttons? Is that real? Oh, man. George
Jettison.
Jettison. Is that right? Oh my God!
I'm gonna bet $1.
Oh no! This is only mildly embarrassing.
Well, I learned most of what I know about
Today. I learned
most of what I know about this game from that man. Thanks, buddy.
Oh, man.
Now I get splatted.
He couldn't take it anymore. You are right, Alexander. You have to beat this. Now they're invested.
Ah! You got to not hit it on the bounce. Okay.
That's awesome. I'm going to give you some time to focus. I'm not going to ask any questions. We'll take a little break.
All right. Thanks, man.
Unless it helps to talk. It's up to you.
It's probably going to help to talk in a minute, but I'm going to give it a shot without hitting it. Because that's it. That's totally
That's good.
it.
It's on the way. Will humanity go extinct before David beats this level? I mean, to become an interplanetary civilization.
I think about that a lot. I don't know. It's like, what does it take to really become an interplanetary civilization? I think probably not. I mean, I think we'll have a colony on Mars before I die. I think there are enough people that are invested in that.
Yeah, interplanetary I don't think is a hard. I mean, it's a hard problem, but it's not an insurmountable one. Like inner solar system.
Yeah.
That
finding other life.
Like if humanity decided today that they wanted to live on Mars, it would happen in the next 20 years.
Yeah, it's really true. I think if we put enough resources at it.
Like, think about we went to the moon on less technology than I'm streaming from right now, right? Infinitely, like orders of magnitude less technology.
Yeah.
Like, we could do amazing things if we actually put our money and resources towards them.
Yeah, if we stopped.
Go ahead.
If we stop trying to shoot each other.
Yeah, stop trying to murder each other. Stop trying to regulate who has sex with who. Like, let's focus on important problems. Just throwing it out there.
Right.
Anyway. Andromeda might finish merging before we see the next level. Oh, there it is. We got a checkpoint, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, we did it. All right, now we're going to open up more questions. You
Fantastic.
Beat it. Kudos to you, David.
Thanks, George.
You have felt like you've accomplished something tonight.
That's right.
How good are we at detecting near-Earth objects? We'd be
Pretty
taken
bad.
out by a surprise asteroid one day.
Maybe. I think any dinosaur killer we know about. But smaller than that could be really devastating because, like, the Chelyabinsk meteor was enormous, and if it was just traveling a little differently, it would have hit the planet. So, that would have been problematic.
Didn't we miss a rather large asteroid recently?
Yeah, I think there was one the size of a school bus that went by a couple of weeks ago.
How bad is a school bus if it hits us?
I think it would wipe out a city. Certainly.
So not an extinction event, well, except for that city, but
that city.
You're
I think that it would
miles.
be substantial damage.
On the plus side,
I think everybody would feel it.
On the plus side, it'll hit the ocean. On the negative side,
Right.
It's going to cause a tidal wave that's probably going to do more damage than a direct impact.
Yeah, that's true. Tidal waves are
Pretty devastating.
that's right.
Okay, follow-up. If we detect it, can we do anything about it anyway?
Presently nothing.
Haven't you seen the documentary Armageddon?
That's a nice documentary.
Filmed in real time.
Yeah.
No, we couldn't do anything. Oh, I guess it depends how much time we have, right?
Yeah, I think. But for a lot of these objects that are really going to cause problems, we don't get a lot of lead time. That's why we don't see them. So. But I think for the most part, the galaxies, the solar system's pretty stable. Like it's not a crazy chaotic place where there's a lot of like nonsense wandering around. So for the most part, we know where the things are.
Alexander is an important follow-up. How old will Bruce Willis be when we need him, though? When we find it, though? Is
Well,
he
I'm
even
pretty
available?
I'm pretty sure he has infinite lives.
Yeah, no.
He's got a Game Genie code.
No, there's a portrait of Bruce Willis somewhere. Horribly
That looks
aged.
just gross.
Yeah.
He's wearing a Trump hat.
How would you go about addressing the difference in gravity between Mars and Earth if we were to start a civilization on Mars? Interesting. What do you mean by addressing? As in, how would we live under that low gravity?
That's one of the things. So there are some things that I like about sci-fi because they think about things in ways that I don't. So I like the show The Expanse.
There
God,
was
I
the
forgot
trick
about
middle
that
one.
Do I got to go around it? I got to go around that one. I got to go around it, not
ladies
over,
and
right?
gentlemen. Physics. Video game physics.
That's right. Oh, that's amazing.
But yes, what TV shows get it wrong or movies get it wrong? So you're saying the difference between gravity between Mars and Earth?
Right. Sorry, I was thinking about this level. The Expanse, I really like the way he treats the differences, the physiological differences between the people that grew up on asteroids mining and people who grew up on Earth. And it shows up in a lot of different ways, and I think it's really well done and interesting. So that's a good sci-fi show that I think is. I think the physics is interesting. There's certainly some unphysical things that they do, so that I, liked or didn't, but I thought that they told a lot of good stories. So one of the things is all the colonists that live on the asteroid belts and on Mars have long bones and are insensitive to gravity. So when they come on Earth, they get sick, and they're all very tall, and their bones are very weak.
That's fun.
So yeah, we're not set up for Mars, where it's going to be rough on everybody.
I mean, but like the astronauts have training regimes. It's not perfect, right? In 0G on the stations, right? They do vibration boards and like
and they work
running
against machines.
Resistance training.
Yeah.
But at some point, if you're born on Mars, you would care. Just live your life on Mars, right?
Right. I mean, how many generations is that going to take is an interesting question. I bet it's going to be surprisingly few, but I bet it'll be like 10 before there are really substantial adaptations. But I don't know.
Scott Kelly come back with weird health problems? That's interesting.
With weird health problems. I didn't follow much of that.
He got space bacteria. No, I'm sure it affects you somehow, right? A lot of things like pumping blood rely on gravity.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, but
everything about how your bones grow.
Yeah, evolution
relies on
selected
gravity.
for a gravity influence. So
yeah, gravity's a useful tool, and it uses it.
Yeah.
So.
Lower high. That's the last one. That's the last one.
Yeah, that's the last one. Okay,
right.
it's after the blue jump, right?
Yep. There's one jump after that, and then all right, we're gonna pause questions for a little bit. Or let David beat this one. Is that the end of it? I think that's the end of the level.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Anyone
God,
in
that would
chat
be
know?
great.
Is that the last checkpoint?
Yes, we definitely have a lot to learn about the long-term health effects because nobody's lived up in the space for more than a year, and they all come back with problems. Like I think everybody comes back with bone loss and muscle loss. I think coming back to Earth is hard, especially when you've been up for a long time. So I think So I know that he came back with health problems because I think they all come back with health problems. I saw an interesting talk where he tried to really look at the statistics of cardiovascular disease in people who have left the near ionosphere, which that's only like 13 people. But it was an interesting talk, and it's an interesting field of study that we're going to have to address if we're going to leave the planet.
Lower high, lower high, lower high.
Ah, thanks.
Nice. All right.
Oh, there's another one.
JC Ishton brings up an important point. You have reached maximum points.
Oh, dope.
You have capped out your point threshold. I can't believe you hit that jump.
Yay. Oh, I forgot about these guys. That guy goes fast. Yeah, cool. They were right where I expected them. All right. Oh, here you gotta hit them.
Stressful. All right. Additional
All right,
questions.
cool.
We're on to a new section.
Yeah, cool. New section's not gonna be so bad.
I'll ask you a question. All
Yeah,
right.
cool.
What's one of your biggest pet peeves in your field? Like, what do people consistently do wrong in peer review or otherwise?
Oh, that's an interesting question. There's a lot of bad simulations out there. There's a lot of overdrawn simulations. Like, it's really easy to run a simulation, and I'm super guilty of it too. So, so that's one thing. I want, simulators to be as honest as possible.
So when you say bad simulation, they aren't rigorous or they're fudging their parameters?
Well, saying things so you can only say so much with a hydrodynamic simulation. So the turbulence, when you simulate, the turbulence is all messed up because you're not simulating much of the inertial range at all. So so you're really subject to dissipation physics in a way that the real system isn't. So, so that being said, I'm gonna publish papers where I do the same thing because it's impossible to. It's impossible to not. This is one of the problems of nonlinear dynamics. Nature understands how to make turbulence work, and I only have a passing familiarity with it.
That's fair. So it's really where you draw the line on what's an acceptable fudge factor.
That's right. That's right. So
your threshold may be higher, but it's still nice. F in chat for David Collins.
That's right. That's right.
Just the first wall after the. That's awesome. That was perfect.
I got it, and so
Yeah, no, that's true. All right.
That's why I checked out after I got tenure. Oh, I forgot about that warp. I forget where that warp goes.
Questions from chat. Oh, you're gonna take a warp?
If I can remember it. If I get sick of doing this.
Oh no, warpless. We're speed running warpless.
F.
It's pay your respects for. It's a meme. I don't remember what game that originated from, but it was like some guy attending a funeral and you had to press a button to mourn at the funeral.
Oh, really?
That was inside of the game, yeah, and then it just became a meme.
Whoa. That's not a meme I'm aware of.
No worries.
So it's a good thing, though. I'm going to stop hitting these things now.
All right. So I have a couple questions for you from Reddit, actually.
Oh, cool.
Posted this to
Okay.
Reddit. All right.
Oh, fun.
So Angry Boxes wants to know, when will we master time travel?
Oh, well, I'm good at time travel right now. Watch. I'm going forward at 1.
One time unit
yeah.
per entropy.
Yeah, the entropy is the problem. Time travel is, so we understand how to make things move at different speeds. So for instance, things on the space shuttle move at a different time rate than we do on Earth. So, we can fudge with the speed of time a little bit, but it takes really gigantic objects. Like you need things the size of the planet and you need to move really far away from them. So, so time travel with our known knowledge is not going to happen. Going backwards in time, I think there are causality problems that I think make for excellent sci-fi.
Back to the Future, another documentary worth watching.
Yeah, excellent. It's an excellent documentary on the perils of
having sex with your mom, or coming close to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I think I beat that level.
You did beat that level.
Dope. I think I need another beer.
David.
Do you need another beer?
I'll grab it.
Oh, cool. Sweet.
Levels to beat.
Oh, sweet.
Follow up. How would you change the grant application process to make it suck less?
Continual grants. Yeah, I can just submit one when I want. So right now, I see this is probably going to be a rant about grants. Yeah, free money would be good. I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind writing a grant. I don't mind having to sing for my supper, because I mean, on one hand, it's kind of fun because I get to have all of the ideas that that I want to have. So I like that aspect of writing grants. The fact that I got to do it so much without any without a payout is the thing that is a drag. If I could, because the thing is, like if I write a grant that doesn't make any sense, that's fine. If I write a grant that the reviewers all say answered good questions, asking good questions, high potential for success, is going to be interesting, but still doesn't get funded. You know, I'm certainly not perfect, but I got a smidge left. So, you know, by all the means, I'm not worried about getting grants rejected because I wrote a bad one. But I think if we went to a continual grant system where I could just apply for a grant when I needed to, instead of having one time a year, or now for NASA theory, once every other year.
Once every other year.
Yeah.
So pre-tenure, you get 2, maybe 3 tries. Mm-hmm. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. And the thing is, they were saying that people were just recycling the same grant over and over again.
Yeah.
And it kept getting rejected. And why is that? Well, because I got one shot a year, and I'm under the gun because I've got to get the grant submitted in time. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do something that I know I can get. Am I going down?
Yes.
No, I'm going up. I passed that. I forgot where I'm going.
Man, Fermi solutions on time travel. So no phone box or DeLorean time machines?
Yeah, that's the one place where I think I'm a super buzzkill.
Oh no, plug your ears if you don't want to hear this.
Because I don't think that any exciting time travel is going to be possible, because it violates too many things. Like too much of nature would get ripped apart if we could go back. If you could have a particle exist before it was born.
Does having a hot tub time machine change anything?
It does make it more sweet. And so.
Oh.
But I gotta say, I love a time travel movie. Like.
Oh God.
Like,
I hate that it knocks you down and you slide down the ice. It's just the most demoralizing thing in gaming history. It's
like insult to injury. Like you.
If you guys have not played this game, you should after this, because it's just devastating but amazing. It's
hard. This is a hard game. You know what's really hard though? Metroid. I tried playing Metroid earlier this year, and I just couldn't get very far. I didn't have the patience for it anymore.
Oh, here's a fun one. How about teleporting?
So there aren't any fundamental physical problems with that. So I'm on board.
The answer
Let's start a company.
The answer is not no. Do you want to invest in my product?
Yeah. Very, very difficult, but not impossible as far as we know it. So, I mean, you've got some quantum mechanical problems because you've got, how do you do this timing?
I think just stay on the edge and then wait.
I just got to wait a beat.
Yeah, be more patient on them.
The thing about this game that's so great is they really know how to get you into a groove and then mess it up.
Yep. Some degree of randomness. Yeah, just stay on the edges and jump when they.
But the timing,
yep.
because the timing for me to make these jumps without sliding all the way back down is fussy, and they're sending out the snowballs at a certain rate, and you get used to that, and then the guy at the top is off by half a phase. It's really brilliant game design. And there was I read an interesting article that said that games back in the 80s and 90s were made to be hard.
Yeah, eat your quarters.
Right. Maybe not into the 90s. But games nowadays are meant to be fun. So
it's true. Oh, you got it.
Get up, dude. Damn it.
So close. What's your policy on grad students receiving exorbitant Christmas bonuses for all their incredibly hard work? Asking for a friend. This is Alexander.
Alexander, 000 Alexander.
In my department, it's actually against our department bylaws to give students extra money.
Really?
It's basically a policy where you can't buy students then.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are not familiar, if you go to grad school, say in chemistry or physics, you join the department, and then there's probably some kind of rotation process where you figure out which group you're going to join in. And they basically want to mitigate for someone. Yeah, you got to knock him down, then throw it at the wall. There you go.
Dope.
Anyway, so they want to mitigate for someone that has a lot of grant money from buying all the best students because they can offer larger salaries and things like that. And so there's a rule against it in my department. I don't know about yours.
We have funny salary things.
Alexander said, my friend says it's fine. They totally changed that rule this year.
I tend to buy your friend, but I think I might know your friend's advisor, and I don't trust him.
That's probably good words of advice.
Oh, man, I forgot about this. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
You got to pick it up.
No, I just got to stand just right.
Oh, yeah.
And let him throw that wall down.
That's awesome. All right, questions from chat. Physics questions, not related to graduate student salaries. Man, we really wish graduate students could be paid more, but our grants just do not allow it. Like, it sucks.
It's so expensive already.
Yeah.
Like, it's really kind of amazing how far $500,000 doesn't go.
Yep. Non-graduate student funding questions. All right. Yeah, it's more about graduate student bonuses. Or graduated non-grad student
Or
bonuses.
graduated non-grad student, yeah. Get a sweet job. That's my best choice.
What do you think about information physics?
I don't know enough about it.
What is information physics?
Okay, depending on what you mean. Does this guy have a pattern?
What do you mean ninja physics?
Yeah, so I'm not sure what you mean ninja physics, but information has a lot of really interesting consequences in a lot of physical systems that I don't know a ton about. So like the information content of a black hole is interesting, and I don't remember how to compute it.
Ninja physics. I don't know. My husband studies it. Has some implications in understanding quantum. Yeah, I don't know information physics. Is this like the quantum information systems type? Like quantum computing?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right.
What happened?
I'm more of an astro gal. I appreciate that.
Am I supposed to go this way?
Yeah.
Oh, why did I go? Did I die? I'm just thinking about physics, sorry.
No, think about Battletoads. Physics is secondary right now. Oh, will we ever discover a magnetic monopole?
I don't think so.
Scuzzbot asks. The answer is an immediate no.
Yeah.
Why is that? I'll explain what a monopole is and why
Yeah,
it's so
okay.
hard.
So here's the thing. So one of the constituent equations of how electricity works is so the constituent equations are called Maxwell's equations, and one of them states that what it really states is the divergence of the magnetic field is zero. That means it doesn't have any edges, it doesn't have any ends. Like your shoelaces have an end. but a rubber band doesn't. So what it says is the magnetic field is more like a rubber band than your shoelace. All of them are more like a rubber band than your shoelace, though they do get very complicated. What Maxwell's equations is typically interpreted to say is that there are no magnetic monopoles, which isn't really what they say. Now, this isn't like some big conspiracy. This is like the universe had to have done something weird. It's allowed to have done something weird exactly once right at the beginning, and then it couldn't have changed it. So the number of magnetic monopoles can't change. So that's what the law says. And we see none, so we just say that the number of magnetic monopoles is 0 because close enough. But I think that's the kind of thing that if nature could do, it would, and it would do it a bunch.
So the underlying assumption is that Maxwell's equations are right.
Yeah.
How confident are you in that assertion?
My kid's name's Max.
He named his kid after it. Don't devastate him and then break Maxwell's equations.
Though, they're an approximation too.
Yeah.
So, I gotta remember to squat for that stupid snowball. Maxwell's equations are a moment of quantum electrodynamics. They're not the deepest truth. They are merely a very good truth.
You're getting wrecked by that snowball.
I know. I feel like I was talking about a science question, and I kind of stopped paying attention because I started thinking about Maxwell's equations. So the cool thing is,
you picked an awesome game, but you also picked a really, really hard game to talk physics over.
I like a challenge.
Oh, you've chosen wisely. It's a great game.
It's really entertaining. And now I got to remember to just stay put until there's a break.
Oh, it's just pattern recognition, right?
It is. It really is. And that's really so I spent a lot of time studying music, and I spent a lot of time studying physics. And that surprises a lot of people, but really it's just pattern recognition. And understanding when the patterns need to be enforced and when the patterns can get broken. And when and where and which patterns are relevant when.
That was perfect.
I know.
All right, more questions for David. I'll give it to him after he beats the snowman. All right. Now you got to get over.
I got to stop jumping up there. Okay, at least I got over here. The sea urchin, man.
Man, no, this is non-trivial.
It is. This is a difficult game. It's pretty entertaining. And honestly, man, you know what makes it good?
Ooh.
Is playing on the right shape controller.
Yeah, no, it's true. The rectangular controller that digs into your hand and makes you hurt the next day, nothing better than that.
That's accurate. But you know what? It's big enough. Like, I love the Switch. I play a lot of the Switch, but the controllers suck.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
They're ergonomically terrible.
Ooh, here's a fun one.
And they're glitchy as shit. Have you ever started drifting?
Yeah. No, they haven't started yet, but
yeah,
I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, it's super
And
aggravating.
Nintendo replied with, "It's not really a problem."
I know.
Switch Pro controller is pretty good. Yeah, where Nintendo mimicked Xbox. Makes sense.
Oh, okay, cool.
Your favorite physics topic that's unrelated to your main field?
Well, I would argue emergence of nonlinear phenomena is probably my favorite.
Should we figure out how to write a proposal on emergent phenomena?
Yeah, let's talk about it sometime.
Just for fun.
I think that'd be fun.
It's so understudied. I don't know. It's a hard problem, obviously, but
it is. It's hard to even describe what the problem is, but we should at least
brainstorm something. Right?
Yeah.
You just need enough small units, some rules that govern them,
right,
and some model to describe that behavior.
Right.
How hard can it be? We're gonna solve this.
I know. We should probably read Wolfram's book.
That's true.
Because he claims to have all the answers in his cellular automata, and I haven't read it enough to know whether or not he's right. He certainly believes that he's right.
Oh, you're talking the Conway's Game of Life?
Yeah, but he takes that to a new level.
Yeah. No, that's fun.
And then he claims to to argue that everything comes out of that.
I mean, so we just need to make the proposal sound sexy enough that nobody in physics or chemistry understands it, but it sounds really, really interesting and good.
That's the kind of thing that's hard to get funded.
Yeah. Thoughts on JWST?
Pretty stoked.
What is JWST?
JWST is the James Webb Space Telescope, and it is going to be basically it's billed as the replacement for Hubble, though it's really a different.
You do not need that one up.
I got to get out of principle because I'm going to die on this dude right here.
You have literally infinite lives. You do not need one-ups.
It's kind of the principle of it, though.
Yeah, no, I understand. Self-respect, I get it.
I haven't been at this level in a long time.
Oh, you
I forgot I got to get that ice block.
While not getting hurt by that.
Oh, man. This game is not messing around.
That thing is
really entertaining.
Not messing around.
Oh, God. I am sweating. And it's this ice block. More than...
Oh. No, live.
Oh!
Live, damn you.
Wait, am I going down? Forgetting where I'm going.
Yeah.
It's like...
Get the one up for the fan, says Scuzzbot.
Thanks, Scuzzbot.
I agree.
Oh, man. I'm not sure who Scuzzbot is. That's a bummer.
Scuzzbot's my brother, actually.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Highest res IR images yet. Better than Spitzer.
Yeah.
JWST. No,
That's right.
really cool.
So the resolution is going to be amazing, and it's going to go into the near infrared. Now that's exciting because how did I die up there, man? What the hell? I glitched my own death. That's a bummer. Because the universe is redshifted. So all the cool stuff that's in the optical here is in the infrared in the high redshift universe. That's why they call it the high redshift universe. So the early universe is all redshifted from us. So so you need a redder telescope. So it's like Hubble, but it's Hubble that sees backwards in time by a lot. So it's pretty exciting. And it's going to see a lot of, like, because it's an infrared telescope, it's going to see all kinds of local physics that we couldn't see before. And it's above all of the infrared absorption lines of the atmosphere. Because the atmosphere is annoyingly in the way for anything other than the optical.
Oh, Scuzzbot brings up an important point. What is redshift?
Ah, that's a great, okay.
General audience question.
Right. Okay, so when...
Go deep on that one.
I appreciate that, because I forget what I've said and what I haven't.
It's because you're playing Battletoads.
That's also true.
This is all forgivable.
So when something is moving away from you and making a noise, that noise sounds lower in pitch than if it were moving towards you. And so like a ambulance. The same is true. So that's because it's a wave, and the wave fronts are getting spaced further and further apart as it's moving away from you. So light does the same thing. Light.
Oh no.
So light gets redder when things are moving away from you, and bluer when things are moving towards you.
Yeah, so redshifts are interesting because stuff's moving
Right.
away from us.
So a redder telescope, or a telescope that can see in the infrared, is very exciting because that means that we can see stuff that's...
Oh, get it. Oh, come here, ice block. Oh, you had it. You had it. Another question. I've always found that people always love studying chemistry and hated studying physics, or vice versa. Is that true in your experience as well?
No, I know a lot of people who are excited about astrophysics and and chemistry.
You are about to get wrecked by an ice block.
God, I forgot about that's ridiculous.
I don't.
Does it go away if I go off?
It depends how. So, like, if you're an undergrad taking chemistry and physics, they feel like very distinct things, and it's because they kind of are at that level. But, like, the higher you get in the discipline, the more you recognize the boundaries get very, very blurred. Like, the thermodynamics and kinetics and all of that, it blurs into one thing. And so if you're a quantum chemist, you are a physicist at some level, right? So it gets very blurry. So, but I understand. And my bachelor's in chemical physics. Well,
oh, really?
You've broken the model. That's actually awesome, though. That's a...
Oh, right.
It's crossing those disciplinary boundaries where you find really cool things.
That's the exciting things. Chandra Sekhar is one of the most important physicists ever. And it was argued that he didn't really have a lot of new ideas. He just rebranded topics from other disciplines really well. Which is a gross exaggeration because all of his ideas were incredible. But he took ideas from other places and applied them in new ways and found all these incredible things about black holes and plasma physics. Just by crossing boundaries.
Alexander's response: I reject your data as it doesn't support my theory. I mean, it does support. If you talk to an undergrad chemistry or physics major, it's going to support your theory.
Yeah, totally.
I think it's a very, I don't know. I had that view too, especially about biology. Like, I would, make fun of them for not understanding anything, but it's a different level of, as Scuzbot said, approximations and abstractions, right? What level of abstraction do you want to think about a problem? But it's still the same problem.
Yeah, it's true.
So it becomes much more cooperative and higher unity.
Yeah.
The further along you get, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really true. I wish I understood chemistry better because there's a lot of interesting stuff. About how many amino acids there are that have been found in interstellar clouds? All of them?
So there's 24 naturally occurring amino acids? I think all of them have been found.
That's kind of amazeballs.
I can't believe you didn't die to the spikes there.
I know, man.
Hitbox. Where's the physics on that?
I'm totally gonna go for those points.
Don't do it. You are at infinite points and infinite lives.
But the whole thing is pointless. It is a pointless exercise. So, I did it. So,
nice duck. Oh, that's how they get you.
How many times do I got to do this before the wall disappears? Okay, there you go. Oh, God.
Nice. Checkpoint.
Right.
Love it. Now, engineers, on the other hand, they're full of shit. I'm just kidding.
Oh, no.
Just applied chemistry and physics.
I have... oh, God. Max has been watching a lot of... Mark Rober.
I don't know who that is.
Mark Rober is a YouTuber, and he builds these ridiculous things. So he has the Guinness World Record for the largest elephant toothpaste experiment ever that he did in a pool, and then he did it again by making a 2,000-pound Erlenmeyer flask that's like 20 feet tall. It's that stupid urchin that they time just right so that you jump right into it. Has given me a really renewed respect for engineering as a discipline, for the art of making stuff.
Yeah.
Because he makes really cool stuff. Like, he's a really, really, really bright individual, but every now and again he touches on the craft of engineering and design principles in ways that I think are really interesting.
Scuzbot has a fun question about major discovery in the next 5 years, but I'll preempt that with Nobel Prize in Physics announced at approximately 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay.
Who's it going to be?
I don't know, something in a field that I don't understand.
If it was going to be someone in a field you do understand, who would it be?
I think the coolest thing that I've seen was the what's that? Is that a secret?
I don't think that's a shortcut, but somebody in chat can correct me if I'm wrong. But
I think the black hole picture is the coolest piece of technology and the most exciting verification of Einstein's principles, because it looked exactly like they expected, which is both exciting and disappointing.
Yeah.
Because, like, hey, you saw it and got it right. I can't outrun that guy. I can't jump too high. The finer points of falling into sea urchins. I forget what I was talking about.
Nobel Prize. We got your answer. We're
Yeah. Was I going to say something different? I think not.
Well,
Because I think it's like we were saying this before the chat. Can't jump over in time. Can't jump over that thing. Pancake!
Oh, no. I just love that they animated that in. Like,
I know.
they could have just had you die, but they needed you to be smushed. That was perfect.
Right.
Miss Bear, I agree. It sucks that the origin of life is dominated by biologists, and most chemists are organic chemists. I don't know if most are organic chemists, but definitely not working on origin of life studies. It's hard to get funding for origin of life research because it's not solving a problem, right? It's not curing cancer. It's not making a better solar cell. But I agree. Like, that's a fundamental problem we need to address, and it's just not. It's not being addressed. I don't know how to say it otherwise.
Yeah, I think there's truth there. I don't know. That sounds. I mean, it's. Okay, can I park here for a second and see what's going on?
Yes.
Okay.
Origin of life.
Yeah, actually, Origin of Life is the banner you put on stuff when you want to try to get it funded.
For you guys?
Yeah.
Because if I put that on stuff, it won't get funded.
Oh, really?
I mean, oh, that's where it is.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you have to go down and it's broken open. Makes sense.
Yeah, because that's really a lot of it is cosmic origins of things. There are a lot of origins centers and things because that's really what a lot of astronomy is about. Is where did this stuff come from?
Speaking of which, I got a question from R-Physics, Reddit R-Physics.
Uh-huh.
Angry Boxes wants to know. The particle physicist wants to know, what's the strangest thing you have found in space?
The strangest thing I have found in space was the Galilean moons, because I am not a good telescope astronomer. The Galilean moons are very easy to see.
Like, you personally focused the telescope and this is what you've seen.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right. That's
okay.
what that is my caliber as a discoverer of things in astronomy.
Okay, so let's do seen in quotations.
Yeah, seen by things that I've learned about.
Yes. Seen through other people's data or...
Yeah. I made it.
Wow, you nailed that last jump. Well done, sir.
Good. Okay, sweet.
Strangest thing you've seen, quotes.
Okay, so I think the weirdest thing is I always say it wrong. The asteroid. Because it got faster when it left.
What's strange about that?
It got faster when it left.
Sped up and
Yeah.
that was unexplained.
So when you've got so there's a satellite something that came into the solar system. It was the first extrasolar object that we've ever seen enter the solar system, and it had a really weird light curve where it got brighter and dimmer and brighter and dimmer. So it was doing something. So they hypothesized that it's some kind of long flat thing that's rotating, that's falling over itself. That's why it got brighter and dimmer. So it was seen in one of these in this telescope called Pan-STARRS that takes a picture of the whole sky, I think in the near infrared, every couple of nights. So it's a big coverage where they're looking for asteroids and stuff. And they saw it get brighter and dimmer, and then brighter and dimmer, and then they saw it leave the solar system, and it got faster than it should have when it leaves the solar system, which isn't really how things work. So when you've got two objects, if I've got an object and it's gonna orbit this one, when it's at this point, it's always going to have the same amount of energy. When it's the same distance away, it's always going to have the same amount of energy. So this one comes in, has N energy, gets a bunch more kinetic energy as it gets close to the planet, then comes back out. It loses all of its kinetic energy to potential energy, but it didn't lose all of it. So somehow it picked up some more energy, and there was just a big push from a bunch of scientists that that were studying how to get to Proxima Centauri in our lifetime. And so we want to get to the next star. What would we design? We would design a giant solar sail, because you can use the radiation pressure from the sun to accelerate something, and it's very, very light. So if you could use the radiation pressure from a laser that's like 1 kilometer across, then you could accelerate something to like 20% of the speed of light. So there was just a big study to see what kind of thing could you get to the next star. What would that look like? It would probably look like a solar sail, and this thing kind of looks like a solar sail in that trajectory. So
follow-up question, what is radiation pressure?
Photons hit stuff and bounce off. Things go the other way. So I've got two things, and they bounce off each other. So like my face, if a baseball hits my face is going to go that way. If a photon hits my face, I'm going to go that way, but just not very much.
So it implies a photon has mass?
No, a photon has momentum, but not mass. So force is change in momentum, not ma. F equals dp dt, not ma. So the m can go to 0. It's the change of momentum that matters.
George Jettison has an important question. How would you stop?
Yeah, that's the thing. You just try to make it. You just try to make it to the star and hook it around so that you can get it back this way. You don't.
Just grab onto it and just hold on really hard.
That was one of my questions too. It's like, what are you gonna do? It's gonna be going 20% the speed of light. It's gonna go right past that planet.
Oh man.
It's gonna go right past that star.
It's gonna go past everything.
Yeah, it's going past everything. So you just take all the pictures that you can while you're going.
It's like driving by a car accident. Just
I know.
To the side and take photos. All right.
I know.
Space break, silly. Alexander, solving problems again.
Right,
you, sir.
That's right. So one of the problems is that there's interstellar medium between us and Proxima Centauri. So it's in the way, and it's going to rip apart anything that's traveling through it at 20% the speed of light. So
I might like George Jettison's answer. Build a time machine so you can build another laser ahead of time to slow you down.
Brilliant.
We're just solving problems.
Brilliant.
I can't wait till this is on YouTube and we can write proposals based on all of this.
That's right. I love you, man.
It's perfect. Oh, man, I like it. But some of the funnest ideas come from just outrageous thoughts like that.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
We can belittle it now, but it's like,
oh yeah.
How would I make a laser there? Can I reflect a laser light off of a planet that's there now, and then it'll be there when I arrive? You know, like
that's kind of awesome.
There's things you could do to make that feasibly possible.
Man, the albedo of so there's a planet around Proxima Centauri. Proxima Centauri is the closest star to us, and it's one of the triple and Alpha Centauri. It's and there is a planet around it. Which is weird, because it's kind of a violent star. Can I jump?
I don't know. Can you jump with these?
No, I can.
You can jump a little.
Use hydrodynamics to jump with their excellent modeling of the physics of a.
How do we know there's a planet around it?
By looking at the wobble. So
you'll have to explain that in greater detail.
That's right. This Doppler shift idea is really powerful in astronomy. It's really one of the best tools we've got. And
Doppler shift meaning the
so that means the change
changes.
of of frequency in a packet of energy as its velocity of the emitting object gets larger.
It didn't give you a checkpoint after that? All right. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. No, the checkpoint is after.
For you.
The checkpoint is after the whirlpools. Okay, so because it looks like a siren is why. That's how we know there's a planet around it. Okay, no, I might be wrong on this one because now I'm forgetting details because I've been playing video games for a while.
And drinking. Let's not
drinking.
forget the 3 beers.
Also, it's not my not my field of expertise, so I don't remember the details of that measurement. But it's one of a couple things. So. Oh, they nicely pieced off and didn't take my last one. Whoa, so many legs.
We're at an important point in the game.
So the planet tugs on the star as it's moving around it. And as it's moving towards us and the star is moving away from us, and on the other side, as it's moving away from us, the star is moving towards us. So there's this wobbling of the star-planet system. I should do this towards the camera. So wobbling of the star-planet system. So the planet's going around like this, and the star is recoiling to its motion. And we can measure that Doppler shift in the light of the planet, in the light of the star. So that's the most common way that's the most popular way that planets are found.
So even though the planet is much smaller than the star, like
Right.
what's the biggest planet relative to the planets in our solar system? What could you see based on that? I mean, it's proximity and size, right?
Yeah. So and here's the weird thing: when they started discovering planets, all the planets were really big and really close to their stars. So that was a curious problem.
But that's a manifestation of the measurement, right?
Well, it's the selection bias of the measurement.
Yeah,
so
okay.
that's what the measurements are sensitive to. But the fact that there were a lot of planets there was weird. And really similarly, I'm going to get distracted by a tangent.
No worries. You have infinite lives, so I don't think you can lose this fight.
That's right. The only losing is when it gets too boring to watch. How do I kill him though? Like he's still jumping around like I haven't changed.
I think you just keep hitting him.
I'm gonna stop with that stick, I think. I'm just gonna throw him on myself.
That was amazing. That was a Pog moment. Well done, sir. He just threw him up and he fell on top of you. I honestly don't remember this fight at all, but that was amazing.
I don't either. I don't know if I've ever made it to this dude.
All right, we have an endless fight going on. More questions from chat. What do you want answered from David Collins, the astrophysicist? For those of you just joining us, again, the disclaimer is this is mediocre gameplay but expert science. So,
but distractible science. So there's
distractible.
that.
No, it's true. I'm giving you a hard time. This is not a trivial game to beat. With that said, the world record for any percent with wrong warps is 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Right. No pressure. And I've been at it for an hour and a half now, 2 hours now.
Yep, almost 2 hours.
Right,
We're at the threshold. Questions? What do you guys want to know?
Did I answer the how do they know there's a planet around it question?
I think you did. Wobble made sense.
There's a couple other ways. They can see if the planet goes in front of the star too. The star gets dimmer.
You can see that fluctuation. So you can see the frequency of
Yeah,
it.
it gets dimmer. So you can, and then if it happens with some periodicity. There you go. I want this stick.
Ooh, George Jettison. Do you have any thoughts, insights on the recent findings on Venus?
No, I'm pretty stoked. It's so the recent finding on Venus is a measurement of a substantial amount of phosphine, which is
pH 3. Yep.
And the thing about phosphine is that it degrades really easily. If you add a high oxygen environment, it breaks down. So you can make it on a planet, but it's got to be really hot, like more than 800 Kelvin. And if you so it degrades really quickly in the upper atmosphere. I think the time scale for its destruction in the mid-level atmosphere on Venus is a couple thousand seconds, so like 20 minutes or an hour.
So on average, there should be none.
Right, so there should be none because there's some, and in principle, this is going to be operating on geological timescales where, things take a million years. So if it's a geologic process, there should be either a gigantic source of it or there should be none. So there's got to be some geological source, and when they look at that, there's not the temperature of the planet doesn't ever get hot enough. There's not enough. The surface chemistry isn't fast enough, and the volcanism isn't active enough, and the lightning isn't active enough. So one of the things they looked at is lightning, and it just doesn't lightning enough to produce the phosphine that they see. So, but there's plenty of phosphine on Earth, and it comes from people and biological processes. So it's a very intriguing thing, and it's potentially very exciting. Like, it's either a boring chemistry thing that might be kind of interesting if you like chemistry, or it's the most important discovery in my lifetime. So, yeah.
It's a wide range of possibilities.
That's right. I think that as far as papers go, it has the highest dispersion of my liking it.
I love that metric.
Yeah.
Put that next to its H index or its impact factor.
Right. The dispersion on Colins liking.
Dispersion of Colins liking.
Yeah, most papers have a dispersion of 0.
DCL metric.
Because I have a clearly defined measurement.
Phosphine is such a bad name for it. It should be phosphonia, so it sounds more similar to ammonia.
Right.
That's fair, but there is, so in organic chemistry, they teach you all this formal nomenclature for how molecules should be named, and all that goes out the window when history is accounted for and people name things whatever the hell they want. So, yes, I agree with you, and it's tragic that it's that way, but so it goes.
No, that's fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah, no, there's formal names and then there's casual names, and it becomes a mess. Oh, question for either of you.
We have a whole unit system that's based on terribleness.
The number of hands per width of the railroad track.
Magnitudes. Magnitudes is the most. Oh, are these random? These are random, aren't they?
I have no idea.
The magnitude system is one of the greatest affronts to logic, because a brighter thing has a more negative number.
Oh man, Alexander has a question for either of us.
Okay,
if you
cool.
could change anything about the educational system in terms of how we teach, or how subjects are taught in your field, what would you change?
That's an interesting question.
Man, I'm going to have a developmental psychologist on here in about a month, and they would be the more qualified person to ask that question.
Yeah, it's true.
Because we can imagine we know how things should be taught and how they should be learned, and I can give you that answer, but I really don't think we fully understand that.
Yeah.
Because knowledge is an emergent complexity too, right? It's an emergent phenomena of compiling disparate ideas into a network of knowledge, and I don't think we fully understand how that works. Yeah,
and I understand here. One of the weird things is I understand how I learn. Like, I understand how I learn now that I've been doing it a long time, but it's going to be way different than how somebody else learns. So, like, I could design an educational system that works for me, and it would look kind of a lot like how our grad school system worked, because that's the system that worked for me.
But the irony of that is it's a selection bias, right? So we survived well in that system. We maintain that system that selects for people that survive well in that system.
Right.
It's by no means the best system.
Yeah. So how would I change it? one of the biggest changes would be an increase in my time. That, you know, if I could do one thing, I would spend more time with people, and that's the commodity that I lack most. Because that's the thing that improves everything. Like whenever you read about like how great studio classes are, one of the important things. So studio class is a way to teach physics. Sorry, I'm answering the question because I knew who that is.
Yeah, no worries.
And then I know his knowledge base, and then I forget that there's other people listening. So studio classes are a way to try to reform how physics gets taught by having it a lot more hands-on, but it also is a lot more contact hours with professionals, which I think is a big part of why it helps. Is why it works better. Is there's a lot more students failing in the presence of professionals. So that's really the thing that I think makes education work, is failing in a safe environment.
Yeah, so one of my general philosophies in general chemistry is that there was a problem with plug and chug chemistry, like where you have this equation, and I know how students solve the problem. They'd basically look at the problem and they'd say, this is temperature, this is pressure, this is something else. Which equation has those things? What can I plug in and do the math? And they have no physical sense of the reality of what they're actually calculating, right? And the reason I know that is because they come up with answers that are negative Kelvin, right? And things that are physically impossible. So one of the things I lean on in general chemistry, and my students might be in the audience right now, is doing much more of the conceptual questions, like do you understand the relationship between variables, rather than just plugging and chugging the math. Because it's very easy in chemistry to get an A in a class and not actually know anything that you actually did. Just knowing how to be an Excel spreadsheet gets you through a lot of questions. And so that's very frustrating for me to see that happen.
Yeah.
Ooh, Ninja Physics. That new Type 1A supernova and NGC 2525. What was that system like? I didn't hear anything about the type of companion star.
Oh man, I'm the wrong dude for that.
That's a very specific question. Kudos to you.
I do a little bit with Type 1A, but
So what's Type 1A?
Type 1A is a white dwarf that explodes. So remember talking about dumb nomenclature? So there's two families of supernova, Type 1 and Type 2, and the difference between those is meaningless. It's just nomenclature. So the difference is whether or not there's hydrogen in the envelope. There's hydrogen in the spectrum. So if you take a spectra of the star, that's like a fingerprint of the chemistry that's going on. So you can see whether or not there's hydrogen in the star. So one class of, and now hydrogen makes up the entire universe. So not having hydrogen is an interesting feature of a set of stars. So Type 1 are the ones that don't have hydrogen, and Type 2 are the ones that have hydrogen. So that means that the star has done all of its job and eaten all of its dinner, and now it gets to go to bed. So a white dwarf is the stellar endpoint of a solar mass star that's not massive enough to explode. This is hard. Hang on a sec. I can't talk.
Oh,
I should have stayed up.
Nice.
So physically, from a physics point of view, it is random. From a physics point of view, there are two classes of supernova. There are massive stars that explode and low mass stars that explode, and those are Type 1A or all of the rest of them, realistically. And so a Type 1A supernova is a white dwarf that has exploded, and these are really cool because they all kind of do the same thing, which means that we can use them as tools. So my understanding of a Type 1A only exists in that I know how many papers have been written on Type 1A that include magnetic fields, and there are 5, and I wrote one of them. really, Boyan wrote one of them. Now I forgot what the question was because I got distracted by this. So I've been working in Type 1a supernova only to the extent of adding magnetic fields to the explosion mechanism, which has been pretty fun. It's not a thing that people do very often. The stream is going to get really boring because I really got to focus on that one. I made it. Very happy. All right. Yeah, that's the thing. So failing, the last comment is about failing in a safe environment. This is something that I'm feeling really keenly as I'm trying to learn how to homeschool my kids. Because I don't know if I can make, is that the last of it, or is there another, does he come out again? Okay.
Oh, this level. Wow, this is classic.
Oh, but it doesn't kill me. Do I just die?
No, it just resets. Okay. Infinite lives equals failing in a safe environment.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
This is a learning curve. Very true. Oh, Classic Gamer 6. As a middle school math teacher, that is good to hear. I'm assuming that was in the relation to the discussion of calculation and
failing in a safe environment or something.
I don't know. Sorry, I missed it. It was earlier discussion. Yeah. But middle school math teachers are the unsung heroes. It's one of those things really that even us, like, we look back in retrospect and it's like, I wish I would have learned that more. I would have tried harder or whatever. Yeah, as a 38-year-old, I now recognize that. But
yeah, totally.
As a middle schooler, I just didn't get it. So thank you for everything you do. You should be boarding airplanes first. I really just genuinely really think it's underappreciated. So thank you.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I was roughest on my middle school math teachers. That was where I did the worst academically, like, over the course of my career, was middle school math.
I mean, it's all those classes too. Like, even chemistry, I just did not appreciate it until I understood it. Like, I needed to know it to appreciate why I should know it, and that sucks, and I feel really bad about that. But
that's one thing that we see in the undergrads, is the undergrads who took took physics in high school do great, or do better than people that are seeing it for the first time, because that experience matters.
That's fun. Alexander, my 9th grade physics teacher made me want to be a physicist. Changed my life. You should probably email that teacher or send them a message and tell them that. Like, it's such a selfless job. Just, yeah.
Yeah, it's really true.
Anyway, so I went back to my high school. It was when I was a postdoc. I went back to my high school and gave presentations to the chemistry class.
Oh, cool.
It was just like here's what I do, here's, why it's interesting and whatnot. But, like, I had to do that to 3 chemistry classes in a row. And I was just exhausted. Like, that's so much time and effort. And he's doing that 6 times a day, every single day.
That's
that
crazy.
alone is just, oh my God, that's exhausting.
I know. The contact hours that primary school and high school teachers have is just bonkers to me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if is it an evidence supported thing? I should ask Sarah this when she's here.
Yeah, totally.
Is that supported? Is it worthwhile? Because we know for a fact that kids waking up before 10 a.m. and trying to learn stuff is wrong. Like, that is not good for them. It's not even good for grad students.
It's not even good for me, really.
Hey, Dr. Hansen and Dr. Collins. Glad I'm able to catch the stream. Well, Legends of Tingle, we are glad to have you. Do you have any physics questions for astrophysicist David Collins? Keep in mind, astrophysics is tough, but it's not rocket science.
That's right, man. Nobody loses $1 billion when I screw up.
That's true. Should that be the metric? How much is lost if you screw up?
That's right. Usually when I screw up, I heat up a room in Texas a little bit. So. doesn't really
awesome.
mean a lot. There's a supercomputer that I like to use in Texas.
That's one particular. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's one particular that I've got a lot of time on. So they allocate it like supercomputers are kind of rad. There are several, and you can just get time on them if you have something that you need a supercomputer for.
How did you fall through him there?
I'm not sure.
That physics,
I fell through his elbow.
Game physics.
I fell in front of his face, I think.
This is Jake, your previous RU student. Oh yeah, there we go.
Oh, hey.
Ooh, I'm curious if you know any current applications in spectroscopy being used in space currently.
Oh, yeah.
It's all the molecule imaging. All the different molecules in space, that's all spectroscopy based.
JWST has this really cool micro shutter thing where they can put a spectrum mask anywhere they want.
Spectrum mask meaning optical filter for...
Yeah, so you get a little slit. When you have a small slit for photons to go through, it disperses the light, so you can see the spectrum of how much of which color of light, because the red light burns farther than the purple light. So you can see how much of which color of light you have in various things, and JWST is going to be able to do that for. So to do that, on a lot of telescopes, you need to cut a piece of metal to make a little strip. Oh, thanks.
Classic Gamer 6, thanks for the follow. And again, thank you for teaching. If I remember correctly, you're the middle school math teacher, so we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, you have a spectrum, you use slits to control signal.
Historically, on big telescopes, you have to cut a piece of metal to make that slit to be in the right spot for your star. But JWST has this micro shutter thing that they can make a little slit anywhere they want on the field of view by opening and shutting these little tiny shutters.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So it's all about spectroscopy in the infrared.
That's amazing. So they're looking at vibrational modes. They're looking at molecules.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
A lot of molecules, a lot of dust, because dust is really king in a lot of these observations. So dust follows the star formation. It's in the way if you're trying to see outside the galaxy. So seeing where the dust is, and since the dust is mostly hot, just kind of a warm dirt, it's kind of like smoke. You have to use it shows up a lot in the infrared, just like smoke does. Though it's much colder.
I mean, the thing is, most of what you do is spectroscopy, right? Everything is imaging some wavelength of some kind, right? It's, yeah.
Yeah, spectroscopy is really king in astronomy because it lets you tell. So when you have a rotational line, so if I've got a physical object that I know is emitting at just one frequency, then I can tell how fast it's moving relative to me, and that's important. And that's a really important and very valuable piece of information. So, and there's lots of different ways to do it. So you can do it with a slit, or you can do it with just colored filters. Though it's
God, that part is just wrecking you.
It is.
Oh man. Are there applications for quantum computing in your field?
How about yours?
For my field?
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's most of the problems they're trying to solve are really simple, like 1 atom, 2 atom systems right now, because they're easy to apply math to. But I mean, quantum computing should change everything, right? It should just make solving the problems different and easier. But I don't know enough about the field. That's a Eugene DePrince quantum chemist question.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a senior in high school taking AP Physics and Chemistry this year. I'm just getting started, but want to become an astrophysicist. So hopefully we can pick up things by tuning in here. First off, don't become an astrophysicist. Become a chemist. No, I'm kidding. Pick whatever you like. Find something you're genuinely passionate about. It's
Find something.
It's a running joke. We don't have any animosity
true.
towards each other.
Because really, you get to the same thing. It's all quantum mechanics at the end.
Yep, that's true.
But yeah, I think make sure that you're spending adequate time on the calculus, because that's the language that underpins everything.
Sorry, another question. You have that answer. You're good. How much do you know about science? Would you say you learned in school versus post-school outside self-education?
Well, what do you count what I'm doing now?
Man, I didn't actually learn chemistry till I had to teach it to other people.
Yeah.
Or I had to apply it in a very specific way.
Yeah. So much of what I've learned in the last couple of years. Having to teach things makes it so much more clear, makes everything make actual sense.
Yeah. Well, you force yourself to know it well enough, you could explain it to somebody else.
But I believe in an iterative model of learning. I don't think you learn something one time. You learn something a bunch of times, and if you're going to really understand something, you have to see the same idea 20 times or a bunch of times.
And not just that, you'll make islands of information and knowledge, and eventually you'll start to see where those islands bridge, and then you've made a network of knowledge. And that's when you really know your stuff.
Yeah.
Like the reason David and I can converse at all is because that network of knowledge allows us to bridge those seemingly disparate things that aren't disparate. They're related. You just got to know how.
Right. You got to find the common threads. But it's really energy conservation and calculus.
There was an interesting, there's a paper recently that looked at graduate students going into I think it was medical programs, but it basically said grades in school had very little to do with performance in grad school. And it's one of those things, classroom learning is not representative of applied knowledge. And I think that's universally known, but we don't have a better system yet, so.
Yeah.
What kind of computational modeling is used in astrophysics?
I use a lot of CFD, which is computational fluid dynamics. So basically getting the computer to do fluid dynamics, that's my primary.
Yes, we have victory, ladies and gentlemen. I'm assuming that was a checkpoint. That better have been a checkpoint.
Yeah. I think the rooms are checkpoints.
Awesome.
So we use a couple of different of models, but since most of what I do is I work with magnetic fields, but magnetic fields and fluid dynamics obey the same underpinnings. So simulating magnetic fields is only marginally harder than simulating fluid dynamics. So most of the codes that I use are the same kinds of codes that people use for supersonic flow applications, though they've got much more sophisticated codes than what astronomy is still using codes from the 80s. I forgot what I had to do. I can't jump over that. I gotta stay there. But in other fields, they use a lot of other techniques. So there are sorry, I got totally distracted.
No, that's a good jump. I'm attentive now. I'm emotionally invested in you beating this.
Where do I gotta go? Where does the dude come out?
I honestly don't know.
Where does the dude come out? I'm like second guessing Sting. I'm like second guessing Sting on this snake.
That's awesome. Miss Bear, I mean, we know better education system. We don't have the proper funding and resources to do it.
That's the thing. It's just labor
true.
intensive. Education is just labor intensive process.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
And that's the more I see doing it with my kids, it just drives home that fact. As it just takes having people who know what they're doing to help the people who don't. Yeah, man, my esteem for elementary school at teachers is really enormous these days.
Since the shutdown,
Yeah.
since homeschooling, that makes perfect sense. The
Yeah.
time, effort, emotional
Mm-hmm.
intelligence, the
patience.
the patience. Oh my God, no, they are absolutely saints. They do not get paid enough.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, Scuzzbot's follow-up question on the Nobel Prize. What major discovery do you expect in your field in the next 5 years?
That's a good question. Let me ruminate on that for a second.
Ruminate away. In the meantime, what's
Yeah.
your favorite equation?
Maxwell's equations or Euler's equation? Or Navier-Stokes. Or it's the other Euler's equations. So e to the I pi equals -1 is one of my very favorites. That's one of Euler's equations.
Why is that your favorite?
Well, it's so first off, it makes everything oscillate because it's the kind of cornerstone of e to the I theta is sine and cosine. So the exponentials and sines and cosines are related to each other.
You're not going to believe this, but that's the exact equation Eugene said was his favorite.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so the quantum chemists and the astrophysicists have the same favorite equation.
It gets you so much.
That's what
There's
it sounds
so
like.
much
It's
power.
just such an elegant...
I think that the Fourier transform is one of the greatest human inventions ever because it opened up so much insight into the universe.
So explain the Fourier transform to our
So the Fourier transform is the ability to so if I've got something that I can represent in real space, x, y, z, and it goes back and forth with some kind of frequency, then I can, instead of describing it in x, y, z space, I can describe it in frequency space. So if I have a sine wave is difficult to write down because you've got draw a lot of points to make it look good, but in Fourier space, it's just one number. And it's incredibly powerful because there's a really simple way to go between real space and Fourier space in this transform that very clever people figured out how to make go very fast and has a lot of nice simple properties that allows you to solve equations instead of using real space, using Fourier space, using frequency. So, when hippies say all of the universe is really just frequencies, they're not wrong.
They're right for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Because it really is. Like, the universe is just a bunch of vibrating things, and they're vibrating together, and I can describe them as a bunch of vibrating things, and there's a lot of power and utility in describing them as vibrating things. It's like how autotune works. Like, Fourier transforms get us autotune. Because I can take a real space signal, like the sound of someone singing, and convert it to a frequency space signal and then edit it. So make all of the frequencies around a B sharp or whatever, and then move them back and do that really fast. And I can change how somebody sings. Anyway, there's all kinds of amazing wonders of the Fourier transform.
That makes sense.
Other than making Rihanna sound great.
Good point. So between your thinking about that question and playing Battletoads, so what major discovery do you expect in the next 5 years?
Right. Major discovery that I expect in the next 5 years. Well, JWST is going to open up a lot of windows. I think that it's going to bring interesting discoveries about the evolution of galaxies. So we're going to be able to see galaxies much, much earlier in their evolution, and I think they're going to be huge early because that's what the kind of really, and that's going to be hard to reconcile. But I think it's also going to bring us insights into how galaxies have gotten as big as they are. Similarly, star formation. So stars come from galaxies, and JWST is going to allow us to see those stars. I'm bummed about that one. That one just clocked me in the face.
Minor note: Rihanna sounds great without autotune. Thank you.
Well, that's also true, and that's one of the things that that I think we do our young musicians a disservice, because we take these musicians who sound incredible, and then when we make them literally flawless,
Yep.
and then young people have to compare to Rihanna, who's already an incredible musician, with all of her bugs fixed.
Yep.
So
That's a fair critique.
yeah, that insight is really mostly due to my wife, who teaches. She's a music educator, so she teaches little kids how to sing and play piano.
Man, that is such a hard jump.
Which
Through the spikes, the two,
oh yeah,
top and bottom. What is something in your field that everyday people can relate to?
everything sucks and we're all gonna die.
You heard it here. Heat death of the universe is
That's
what we
right.
can all relate to.
That's right.
The soul-sucking black hole that is our universe. We
Yeah.
all feel it, especially during election season.
Oh god, that's true.
Just the weight of the universe is on all of us right now.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Oh, there's a series of these, and
Yep.
this one.
Oh!
God, it's so unforgiving. Oh man, I had a. There was a point that I was going to make a minute ago, and I forgot what it was.
Oh, sorry, did I distract you?
No. I
The
think
equation or the next discovery, 5 years?
I forget. It's gone now.
Heat death greater than cyclic universe. Opinions?
Yeah. It can't be cyclic, or it's going to be really weird if it's cyclic, because it's accelerating. So
Cyclic universe is the idea that it expands, contracts, expands, contracts.
right, because it's certainly expanding now. There isn't any arguing about the fact that it's expanding, and people have been trying. Like this is like not a good old boys network kind of understanding. People have spent a long time trying to find holes in everything's expanding. Now we're pretty sure that it's accelerating. I mean, they won a Nobel Prize for the acceleration, so it's really pretty solid.
Unrelated to physics, do you know that Billy Mitchell is streaming Donkey Kong on Twitch? Are you familiar with Billy Mitchell?
No, is he awesome?
Have you seen King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters?
No, I've heard of it though.
It's a documentary on
It's him?
Donkey Kong World Record.
Uh-huh.
And so he's the bad guy in that.
Oh,
Turns
really?
out he's a bad guy in real life because he cheated for his scores.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Twitch don't ban me for saying that, but yeah.
Really?
He was rejected because he was cheating on his scores. But
Oh, no way.
Anyway, apparently now he streams on Twitch and plays Donkey Kong on stream. So, but you should watch King of Kong Fistful of Quarters. Just in terms of presentation, it is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Really?
Like, you can't write better good guys and bad guys than are in that movie.
That's
it's
really
absolutely
fun.
amazing. I strongly recommend you. Miss Bear says he cheated and he's an asshole. That summarizes it perfectly.
That's really funny. Yeah.
Ooh, wow, this is a fun one. So speaking of cyclic universes, what is your favorite / most likely off-brand astrophysics theory that might actually be true? What is the Bigfoot of astrophysics right now?
That Omaha was a solar sail from an advanced civilization. That's my favorite conspiracy theory. It's already come up today, so it's not a particularly good enlightenment, but I'm pretty fond of that one. Just because I really want to believe so bad. Like I want spacemen more than you do. I mean, I engineered my life so that I get to think about outer space all day.
Makes sense.
But I'm also very skeptical of any kind of claims of it, because it's so difficult to move in space. Space is so vast. Every life form is going to run up against that.
Yeah, so the acceleration as it moves away was the one thing that might give that promise.
Yeah.
Just some self-powered something or other.
Right.
What were your grad school experiences like?
My advisors were pretty hands-off. they gave me topics to work on, and I kind of got sucked in my own hole and figured them out. And then would meet with them, to make sure that I was staying on task and stuff. But I don't know, a lot of beating my head against code in the dark. But eventually getting there, because it was a good environment with a lot of vibrant people who knew a lot more than I did. And that, I think, is important, is making sure you surround yourself with people who know more than you do.
Yeah, I think it's underappreciated. I emphasize this a lot with my research group, but the group dynamic, like who you work with, is arguably more important than what you work on.
Yeah. How about you?
I had a great experience in grad school. I had an awesome advisor. He had a lot of grant money, plus he was very hands-off, which was perfect for me.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, you have an interesting idea, pursue it. Like,
yeah.
That's the kind of thing he did. So it was really awesome in that respect. But with that said, it's still a mentally and emotionally trying experience, because it's 5 years of working on things, and you have intervals where nothing works for a long period of time. Yeah, like you're just suffering through failure, after failure after failure, and it's just, should I be doing this? Not to mention the imposter syndrome that just hits you, right? Like, am I smart enough to be here?
I hear that goes away sometime.
Does it?
Not yet.
Oh man, I hope so. At some point it does.
Getting tenure actually helped with that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's true. Tenure,
but that's what it took for me.
Bill of approval. I mean, the pressure's off to some degree for us at this point because we're both tenured. But
then on the flip side, I've got people's careers in my hands, so I can't fuck around too much.
Yeah, no, that's really stressful when it's like, do they get papers out? Are they doing the right things to get themselves jobs? That's a whole different level of stress.
Right.
What kind of mental health tips would you give STEM students about to do grad school? Oh man.
Exercise.
Exercise is a good one.
Yeah, that's something that I didn't understand.
Have some kind of hobby outside of this stuff, because it can consume you and it's not good for you. I mean, there was a period where I was over 80 hours a week. Like it was bad for a while, and I could tell. Yeah. And then you take a break, and it's like all of a sudden I feel human again. Get enough sleep. Sleep definitely helps. If you could keep a consistent sleep and workout schedule, that would be probably enough to maintain you.
Yeah, that's something that I've actually really been working a lot on the last couple of months, is making sure that my sleep and my physical hygiene is consistent.
Yeah.
So that's trip one. I think also, get therapy and try to understand who you are as a person, because I've got glitches that shape how I learn and who I am and how I interact with adversity and strife, and I can give you input on how, if you have my particular chipset, how that works. But so I can help you if you've got an attention shortcoming. But other glitches and other non-atypical states you got to sort out on your own. So.
Or with help.
Well, with help.
Don't do it on your own.
Not on your own.
Don't expect to do any of this stuff on your own. Like, support networks are everything. Currently going through PhD candidacy exams. It's rough. Yeah, and everyone will tell you, this is the legend of Tingle. Everyone will tell you, don't worry about it, you're going to pass, blah, 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 but none of that helps you relieve stress for those upcoming events. It's brutal. It happens every single time.
You have to worry about that, dude, because maybe you don't. I lost a student once to the qual.
Really?
Yeah.
Oof. Brutal.
And yeah. So.
But should that student have passed?
Well, okay. So.
We don't have to talk about specifics, but.
Yeah, I wish he was still here. I couldn't keep him. I wasn't able to make that work. Sometimes you have flexibility, but sometimes you don't.
Yeah, I mean, if a student flat out bombs, that's brutal.
Yeah, there's margins.
Unrelated, I don't know where the edges of these platforms are. Like, it seems like you're landing on them. Physics does not make sense in Battletoads universe.
Yeah.
Scuzzbot, is there a grand unified theory?
Probably, yeah. I really think there ought to be.
There ought to be. Like, you want there to be, or you think there is going to be?
I think there is going to be. Because just because things fit together like in the world so nicely.
Yeah.
Like so many things really do fit together. Okay, now can I just sit here and wait?
You might get another purple snake. I don't know how that works. Oh, what? Oh, that would have been a nice,
I'll just die.
Nice cheesing.
No, I think randomness is inherent. I can't see the rest of the question.
Do you think randomness is truly inherent to nature, or do you think there's an underlying structure not yet understood?
I think that randomness is truly inherent. Because there are enough things that make things so close to random that that if it's not truly random, it's so close to random that you'll never be able to tell.
All right, fast snakes, you ready?
Yeah.
Nope, not yet. Oh, here's a fun one. What's your least favorite programming language and why is it Python?
I love Python. Well, okay.
Insulted.
I have a love-hate relationship with Python because it's really like it's a great language for doing stuff fast and shooting yourself in the foot. Like, it's really
Those are two of his favorite things.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would say crap. Probably Perl because I find it so hard to read.
I think if you wait here, you'll get another purple
Okay, cool.
snake.
Yeah, we'll just try that.
Maybe.
If I took a bathroom break, would that be?
Yeah, no,
would
it's
be a
all
good time?
yours. I might play some Battletoads.
Oh yeah, you want to jump on a purple snake
Yep.
after he comes by?
We'll see. Probably just going to die. Oh, man. I just tried to hold B and speed run like Mario. Not going to work in this one. All right. I can pretend to answer astrophysics questions if anyone's interested in a liar. Oof, man, jank platforms. Perl isn't bad if you work with it regularly. I have never really programmed at all, so I have no insights, but I will feed David that line when we get back. You can't just hold right and jump. No, I'm trying. I'm quite bad at this. Man, this game, like the platform physics does not make sense at all. Say what you will about the original Mario Brothers, but like it handled so well. Like you can control every jump and every landing and stop on a dime. Then you come to Battletoads and you're landing on mush platforms. It just doesn't feel good. Come on, come on. All right. All right, let's try this again. So one thing I appreciate now doing this stream is that there are players that play like top level in their game and they're still answering questions in chat while doing so. Like if you ever watch the Beast play Mario Maker, plays the absolute hardest levels in the middle of a triple shell jump, he's just like answering chat questions casually. Just blows my mind. I mean, it's obviously it's their full-time job, so they get really good at it. But still, it's a skill set that they have acquired over time. Yeah, we'll do one more. The Beast is insane. I agree. That's why I like watching him, though. Ah, mush. Ooh, programming question. Rejected. He might actually be top 5 Mario player. That's an interesting question. Who are the top 5 Mario Maker players? I'd go with the Beast, Shun. Who else would I put on that? Man, I have not thought about that. My group code's in LabVIEW and MATLAB. Man, those are useful. My students are learning that a little bit, but yeah, we'll say Mario Maker only. Who are the best players? Orator, yeah, he's really good. Oh, that's a good choice. I am terrible at this. I can't find the platforms at all.
Oh, I know they're impossible.
Well, it's just again, we talked about this earlier. The rules in Battletoads are not the rules in real life. You can't stand on the edge of a platform in Battletoads.
Right. The hitbox for the platform is some nonlinear function.
Like wraps at the end.
Yeah, like.
Wow, do you think the philosophical interpretations of theories under the purview of physicists, same with chemistry, i.e. quantum mechanics, the Copenhagen interpretation, even physicists qualified to suggest, as in, can we make comments on things on the borders of our interpretation of physics and chemistry, like Copenhagen interpretation? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, ultimately. I mean, I think physics is going to grow to encompass what it needs to. Oh, thanks.
Sorry, I moved it when I went in.
So I think.
Or should that be philosophers?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting concept, an interesting question. So I don't really know a lot about.
Side note: both David Collins and I are doctors of philosophy.
Well, so that's true.
So we are natural philosophers in the most fundamental sense of it. But I don't think that's what you're getting to.
Right. So I don't really know enough about philosophy to know what it can really do for me. Like, there's a lot of fields that I know I should learn more about, because I feel like they would help me in some way, and I just don't know enough about philosophy to know what it's about in the modern era. So in my mind, everything should come from the physicists, but that might be ignorance.
Or bias.
Certainly bias.
Or bias towards physicists. I like it. I don't know. Without a testable hypothesis, how much can you really respect? Just throwing that out there. In terms of
right.
So the origin of the word atom is from atomos, right? And this is philosophers, Greek and Roman philosophers, sitting around saying you can't cut stuff up smaller, so it's got to be the smallest unit. It's an atom, but they have no testable experiment to actually verify whether that's true or not. So take that for what it's worth. It's an important thought experiment. What are you supposed to do there?
I don't know. Cut it too close.
Oh, Scuzzbot followed up. What other programming languages do you use besides Python?
So Python is my daily go-to, but Python by itself is worthless, because it's just so slow. So everything that's useful in Python is built in is wrapped around C. So so I like C and C++. I use those to an extent, and I use Fortran a little bit. Though I'm not really crazy about Fortran. I don't know. Fortran's fine. It's easy to make it go fast.
Python is worthless. Got it.
Yeah. I mean,
Scuzzbot has a vendetta against Python. So
That's right.
You will not be persuading him right now.
Yeah, that's okay. Python's got plenty of faults. Like I wouldn't use it if it weren't for the fact that it can so nicely call C and Fortran because it wouldn't be fast enough.
Oh, here's one back to physics. If we'd prove quantum gravity, how would that help us?
My imagination is not quite great enough. Okay, what am I supposed to do here?
I think it goes under you, maybe climb up and drop or something.
Oh, I'm supposed to park on one of these pedestals, I think.
Well, the optimistic part of me says if we can understand and control quantum gravity, we will use it as an energy source somehow.
Yeah.
Right, like the discovery of nuclear, that was huge for a lot of reasons, but it gave us a power source. Right, and we've done that consistently, like Newtonian physics. We understand that. We can do windmills and things like that.
Yeah,
electromagnetics, we can do batteries and electromotors. If we can do quantum gravity and control it in some way, who knows? We might be able to use Brownian motion to power something. I don't know.
Oh, I just saw a cool paper where they argue that they're using in graphene phonons as a positive room temperature phonons as a positive voltage.
Oh, was that the infinite power supply chip, whatever? I saw the news headlines, but I didn't actually read the paper.
I didn't read it. But you know, that's one of those things like
Lieutenant Pook, thank you. Lieutenant Pookie, thank you for the follow.
Oh, fantastic! I love a Pookie.
Exactly. Thank you, Lieutenant, for joining us. Oh, that's a good point, Alexander. Like most solutions, the tools developed to solve it tells us more than the solution itself. That's a distinct possibility.
I tell that to my students in intro physics all the time. I don't give a shit about the number. Like, I got 4.2, is that right? I don't fucking care. I have no idea what the number is. I forget. I read that number and then I forget it right away.
That's awesome. It's the tools in the way. I like it.
Yeah, so I mean the answer is never what I care about. It's the process, it's the story.
And Ninja Physics, philosophy, physics books, Logic of Discovery and Structure of Scientific Revolutions by Popper and Kuhn.
Okay.
That's
Do we have a way to
reading.
save that?
Hmm?
Can we save the chat?
Yes, it'll all be on the YouTube video.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
okay.
Are you pretending you have time to casually read?
Yeah, I casually read to my kids. So whenever I read
Popper
to
and
them,
Kuhn. The Logic of Discovery.
Yeah.
I guess they're getting old enough. That might be fun.
I just finished Lord of the Rings, and they mostly paid attention. The older one paid attention really well. He was on it to an extent that I like. He remembered things better than I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he did really well.
That's really fun.
So 10 is a good age, I guess, for Lord of the Rings. Provided it's getting read to you by someone who's doing hilarious voices the whole time. So, and summarizing when things get really verbose and confusing.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah.
Debbie is definitely looking forward to that age, like especially when she can dive into Harry Potter with them for the first time.
Yeah. Oh man. So I was really looking forward to. I'm hoping my kids aren't still on. It's way past their bedtime. I was really looking forward to reading Roald Dahl with Max. Mm-hmm. And right when he got big enough to start, he and I reading it together. So like he'd read a page and then I'd read a page. We did that for a lot of books. He would read a page and then I'd read a page or whatever. And he would complain, why do I have to read? And I'm like, because reading's awesome. And then it finally sunk in right as we got to the witches. We were trading off and then we got like maybe a third of the way through and he disappeared with the book and I haven't read a book with him since.
Oh no.
Well, that's not true. We've been reading, but he disappeared and he read all of Roald Dahl without me.
I mean, that's bittersweet, right?
I know.
That's amazing, but
I'm like,
tragic.
That's fantastic. I'll take
really
it that
fun.
way. But at the same time, so then going back and read and going through Lord of the Rings was really pretty fun because now we really are on it together, and it was really
All right, so it's 10:53. You have
okay.
7 minutes to beat Battletoads,
Oh my
and
God.
the chat you have 7 minutes to answer or ask your final questions. So anyone that's just joined us in the last minutes, Ask a Scientist Gaming, we have astrophysicist David Collins playing Battletoads. Getting wrecked by Battletoads, but that's kind of the nature of the game.
That is the purpose of the game.
But happy to answer physics questions that you may have. So any last-minute questions for astrophysicist David Collins? Or questions in general. Why is the sky blue? You want to tackle Rayleigh scattering or?
Yeah, totally. It's a filter. The sky makes some of so the light is made up of red photons and blue photons, and so I'm an astronomer. We classify things into just red and blue. That's all.
That's all you have. It's not the spectrum. It's just red and blue. All right, there's your options: red and blue.
Since you've got all these different photons, the tiny little particles of dust and oxygen molecules scatter the different colors of photons differently. So they let the red photons go straight, and the blue photons, they scatter really hard to an angle. So when
snake head physics right there.
That's right. So you see a blue sky, and someone to the west of you sees a nice red sunset. That's because they're getting all of your red photons, and you get all of their blue photons.
That's a good way to describe it. It's a non-even distribution of red and blue photons. Right. It's directing the spectra different directions,
right?
Which is really fun.
Like a traffic cop or something.
What is harder, Battletoads or understanding the mysteries of the universe?
Well, I have done neither.
He is bad at both of those things. Thanks for bringing it up.
But clearly just beating your head mindlessly against something, it has some satisfaction to it.
Yeah. No, there's some correlations between research and playing Battletoads.
Yeah, like this part here.
Holy shit.
I did it.
Jump over the top.
Jump over the top. I knew
I could have done that a dozen times before then.
I know. I just had to figure out that I needed to do it. So that's how grad school works.
Yeah. You keep trying, you try, and then you try something new, and all of a sudden it works.
And I make it look fun, but somebody asked about their mental health, about the mental health questions, and that's an important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
You gotta be on top of who you are and what you need.
Yeah, and what's important too. Like grad school feels like the most stressful, important thing in the universe, but like,
right?
There's some things that matter and some things that don't, right? And there's some things worth stressing out about, and it's hard to gauge what those things are, but it does matter.
It's true, and it's hard to gauge what those things are at the moment, because the thing that's the loudest is not always the thing that you really give a shit about in the long run. But I haven't necessarily figured out how to get around the things that are very, very loud right now. I have never made it to this level.
Really? This is the first time walkthrough?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I had made it to the last one, but I don't think I ever made it past it.
You just died before the platform and it forwarded you to it. That's awesome. All right. On a scale of 1, oh man. I don't know what this descriptor is here. Read that out loud for me, please.
On a scale of 1 to Quasich Hetterach, how excited are you for the new Dune movie?
Okay. It looks awesome, actually. It looks better than the 80s Sting version.
Pretty stoked. I haven't gotten too excited about it yet.
The worms, though. Did you see the worms?
I haven't. Are they rad?
Yeah, if you want some stuff ruined, watch the trailer.
Yeah, sweet.
But the worms look awesome.
Yeah, I've heard it's coming, but I haven't actually put my eyes on it.
What are the odds that a solar
so
event
I'm
wipes
gonna
out?
I'm gonna based on the individual asking the question, I'm gonna assume that George Jettison is pretty stoked about it.
Keep the Dune hype down, just in case. I don't know. I think it's gonna be good. It looks good.
Yeah, cool. I'm pretty stoked.
What are the odds that a solar event wipes out electronics on the planet?
Non-zero. 1 in a couple billion. I mean, there have already been events that have damaged things. There's an event called the Carrington event in 2008 that burnt down a telegraph station. So it's already disrupted our communication network substantially. So non-zero, but low.
So what happens if our magnetic field flips?
Weird stuff. I think things might get really hard for a while.
Is there a window where just ionosphere just wrecks us? Like that's just it?
It's happened before, so clearly it doesn't mean the end of the atmosphere. But yeah, the solar wind will ablate the atmosphere, and we're a lot more susceptible to the charged particles that are coming in. So I don't think navigation will be challenging because we do so much magnetic navigation, but I think that we probably survive just fine. But it takes like a couple thousand years in the flips that have happened. So I think the actual it kind of collapses quickly. But I don't know. It might be weird.
Fermi solution Borat 2. I'm looking forward to that. That's just discomfort porn, right? That's just like watching people.
I know.
Discomforted by interacting with human beings. Something's glorious. Apparently, there's some kind of politician or political interaction in that hasn't been revealed, but is
more damning than some of the other things that he's said.
Maybe.
That's pretty. I mean, I think he's not a man that shies away from being loud. Like, so I think that his timing is indicative that he's got something really hilarious to do.
Charthplug. Charthoplug. Is dark matter a real thing? And if it is, what is it in simple terms?
Okay, so we see. So one of the things that we understand really well in the universe is how planets move around stars. So we understand how the Earth moves around the Sun and how the Jupiter moves around the Earth and how all of those things interact really well. And one of the things that we see is the relationship between the velocity of one of the planets and the mass of the star and the planet system that it's in. So we have this law that Newton came up with that says that gravity and mass interact in a certain way, and gravity and the motions of the stuff are tightly related to each other. So when we look at a galaxy and we say, well, okay, how much stuff is there? And we add up all of the stuff and we say, okay, how does gravity work? Gravity should give me this velocity at this certain distance out of the galaxy, and the stars in that part of the galaxy are going much, much, much faster than they should be. If the only thing that we were seeing was the light was the mass from the light from the star. We understand stars pretty well, so when we have a population of stars, we have a pretty solid understanding of how much mass there is in stars. So things are moving way too fast in galaxies, and there are a couple others. So I teach a course on this. Basically, I spend the whole time talking about what dark matter is and how we see it. And it's you know what, dude? I've been here before. I think I got here with the Game Genie.
Oh, it's right there. One more. Dark matter. Sorry, that was an intense moment. We apologize.
So when we look at our galaxy, it's hard to do in our galaxy because we're in the middle of it. But it's easier to do with other galaxies. you can see that they're all spinning faster than they should be, especially in the outer regions. So that's one piece of evidence, but there's a lot. There are many pieces of evidence where we say, well, here's a system that is clearly missing some stuff. There's gravity, but there's not protons. So I spend like 15 weeks talking about this, so it's hard for me to do it quickly. So we see it in galaxies. We see it in galaxy clusters. So when there's a bunch of galaxies that are orbiting each other, when we add up all the mass in the galaxies, we get way not enough stuff by a factor of like 300.
Yes! Victory. Well done, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So dark matter is the fudge factor for...
Well, so yeah, so this lambda CDM that I started talking about at the beginning, lambda CDM is this combination of dark energy and dark matter that is this framework that we use to describe the entire evolution of the universe from the Big Bang to the formation of stars. And it contains this dark energy, and it contains cold dark matter, and it predicts, and it by itself makes several really nice predictions about the size distributions of galaxies. So how many big galaxies you have when, and how many small galaxies do you have. It predicts that very nicely. It predicts the cosmic microwave background, which is the light from the Big Bang, and you can see this light if you look out in a telescope that's sensitive in the microwave, and if you're very careful, you can tell a lot about the universe from the overtones in that light. So the ringing in that tells you a lot about the components of what the universe was made of. And the universe was made of a lot of stuff that had gravity but no pressure, and that's the hallmark of dark matter, is that it doesn't interact with photons, and it doesn't interact with itself. So we see that there's a crap ton of it. So in every galaxy, only a small fraction of the photons are, or only a small fraction of, sentences are not possible.
A lot of stress.
All the walkthroughs that I saw warped through this level.
You're doing the no warp version. All right.
So there's a bunch of different signals for dark matter, not just galaxy rotations and clusters. So we see it in the cosmic microwave background. One of, I think, the most important ones is in the D to H ratio. So if we measure how much deuterium there is in the universe, which some very clever people sorted out how to do, there's way too much deuterium.
So those of you not familiar, hydrogen is the simplest atom. It's a proton plus an electron around the perimeter. Electron doesn't matter for this sake, but deuterium is a proton plus a neutron together. It's a heavy version of hydrogen, basically. And those are the two things that form first, I guess. Mm-hmm. Mass comes together and makes, or energy comes together and makes mass.
Right. The first thing is the first things to form are protons. Realistically, the first things to form are probably the dark matter particles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because they're probably really big. That is what I think, how I would summarize where the field stands on that.
Makes sense.
Dark matter is probably a big particle.
Lieutenant Pookie, what do physicists think gravitons are a real thing? Are a thing? I have a very basic understanding of carrier particles, but why do we expect all forces to have one?
Well, they all do, except for that one. So it
I
only,
see. They think they're gravitons because everything else has a particle.
That's right. So the other three forces have carrier particles, photons and W's and Z's and gluons. So the thing is, the carrier particle is a quantization of the field of just this continuous value of whatever. So there's a field. So like there's a gravitational field, there's a field wherever you are, you feel gravity. There are electromagnetic fields, which wherever you are, you feel electricity. You feel the electrostatic field or whatever. All of these things are fields. And the electromagnetic field, when it becomes a particle, turns into a photon. So when you quantize it to say what is one unit of electromagnetic field, you get a photon. So I have a gravitational field. I should be able to quantize that too and find out what a unit of gravity is. So we haven't been able to yet. That doesn't mean that that's the answer, though. It just means that by the symmetry of the ideas,
So
it should be possible.
Conceptual history leads us to believe there should be a graviton.
Yeah.
All right. Question from Zakella. How realistic are warp drives?
Well, so there's a realistic. Do I think it violates any fundamental physical laws, or a realistic? Do I think that some being with some technology could engineer it? I think the warp drives don't violate any known physical laws, but I think they're an engineering nightmare because the ones that I know of require a great deal of negative mass. And I like negative energies in a lot of ways, but negative mass doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a thing you can write down and manipulate.
Lieutenant Pookie, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks, Lieutenant Pookie.
George Jettison, so you're saying there's a chance. That perfectly summarizes the current state of warp technology.
Yeah,
so
that's
you're
exactly
saying there's
right.
a chance. There's a non-zero probability that we could have warp drives.
Right.
Yes. We can confidently say that.
Yeah, that's the thing about science is unless you can there's only a few hard no's in the universe. You can't go faster than the speed of light.
And even those hard no's sometimes disappear.
Yeah, energy is conserved unless you look at all of it, in which case it's not.
It's always a qualifier.
Yeah.
Man, I feel bad when I teach general chemistry. There's the answer is always within this realm, but I put always in quotes because it's maybe not. There's a chance. There's a chance we're wrong.
Right.
We've been wrong before. All right. So
have you seen Undertale? Oh my God, that level
beat it.
sucked.
That's amazing. I was gonna say we just hit. We were past 11 o'clock, so it's up to you. How long you want to keep grinding
I
this?
do not know if I'm going to be able to get smacked by this level, but I'm going to have to give it a couple minutes because I am feeling pretty good.
Wait, if you're fine with negative energy, just use E equals mc squared to get negative mass.
Yeah. Oh man, was that a comment?
Yes.
So yeah, that's the problem with gravity, is because gravity's got negative energy, and it's why it works, but it's also a problem because then you get systems with negative heat capacity. So like a star system has a negative heat capacity. If you take energy out, it speeds up because the orbits get smaller. So gravity is one thing that we don't understand very well on a lot of fronts.
Is this the same pattern every time?
I think it might be. but I'm not
You're
sure.
just beyond memorizing it at this point.
Well, but I can't always because they're not all random. This one is.
And this, just want everyone to recognize this is 1991 graphics and 1991 music, but it is just quality gameplay.
It is quality
It's so
gameplay.
hard. 4 lives to beat this game.
I know. And the thing is, like... Yeah. Well, it is 11:15.
It's getting late. We're like 4 beers in.
I know. And the thing is, I'm out of this beer, so I'm gonna if I keep doing this, I'm gonna get another one, and then
I don't think I can afford that with the kids waking up at 5 a.m. tomorrow.
I know. All right, so we should probably call it.
Yeah, is it time? You want any more tries? Oh, it's up to you.
Well,
Are there any more last-minute questions?
Oh, yeah.
We'll let that dictate when we quit.
Yeah. How close am I to the end anyway?
I have no idea. I do not know this game well enough to tell you that answer.
I don't know.
End of the game, there's several levels because you still have the like speed bike thing. You have the queen at the end. You have the vertical platforms.
Right.
There are 5 more levels according to George Jettison. So how many levels total?
I trust George on that one.
Yeah, I think that's a good time to call it quits.
I think this is probably good. This is the farthest I've ever made it. I'm pretty sure I watched George Jettison get to this level.
That's awesome. 12 levels total. That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Far. You got 7
George,
levels
did you ever
in.
beat it?
Well, thanks everyone
Thanks,
for stopping
Ninja
by. It's been a pleasure. We have fun doing this. It's just recreational. Eventually, I want to do a new scientist every single week, but because of COVID, we can't do that. In fact, David and I both did a COVID test before interacting in a room together.
Right.
So it'll probably be 3 weeks before the next one, but I think it's going to be developmental psychologist Sarah Hart. So she'll talk about children learning math and English and yeah.
She's great.
Yeah, she knows her stuff. And so if you guys want to get updates on it, take a look at our calendar or follow us on Twitter. That's where I'm going to post when we have somebody verified for the next Ask a Scientist. So yeah, follow us, swing by. We'll keep you posted. Again, the schedule is flexible. Eventually it'll be once a week, but until then, yeah, follow us on Twitter. Yeah, thanks for coming by.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks everybody that I know that I didn't name check. I love you all.
All right. Thanks everyone.